Hi, everybody. Thank you guys for waiting. Oh my gosh. I put together a PowerPoint show for you guys. Um, that is quite extensive. So I've been working on this one all day. How are you guys? Thank you so much for waiting. Let me do some stuff while people come on in. Hey Nash, how are you? This is the I should have my hair in a battle bun, honestly. I could do that. Hey girl! As you can tell, I've got like a tickle. It's not even a tickle. Why do they call it a tickle? It doesn't feel good. Well, I guess tickles don't either. Hang on. Let me get rid of this cough real quick. Tired? Oh, was it? I bet. I bet the trolls are out tonight. So I appreciate it, you guys, for being in here. And to my mods, thank you in advance. You'll be getting a very nice Christmas present from me for being in here since the beginning and helping me battle things out. And as always, when in doubt, just block. I don't care. I do not mind. Of course, if it's just somebody expressing it, an opinion, that's fine. But I trust your judgment. Hey, Critter, how's it going? Let me go grab a tissue real quick, and let me go grab a cough drop because something is up. Hey, Trash, how are you? All right, well, prayers over this presentation tonight because maybe this cough is from bad vibes. I bet they're all over the place tonight because Baron and Candace are out. So I think all of us podcasters, we're trying to get on. Oh, they cut her off? Like the people in the chat or YouTube? All right, y'all hold the room down for just a second while people file in, and let me go grab a cough drop and stuff. No way. You got an abscess in your mouth? Oh, it was glitching on her? I don't even, it doesn't even surprise me. Of course it was. Okay, 1 second. Yes, darling. This is sweatshirt night, so I hope everybody came dressed appropriately. Awesome. Ricola. Listen, I have to buy these because anything else is just candy. So I rarely even need a cough drop. You don't even need cough drops. I feel like are the things that sit in your cabinet forever, and then you like toss them out, and that's the thing that then you instantly turn around and need. Yeah. Okay, let me turn on comments over here and just let everybody kind of pile in. Let me see if I can get, y'all want to see my poodle? Auricola, spit it out. Wait, tell me to spit it out. Okay, I won't do it. I'll trust you. Okay, it'll get better. Let me go see, while everybody's kind of piling in here. Y'all haven't seen my poodle since she's been groomed. Let me see if she'll come in. Hang on. Come here, Booby. Come here, Nugget. Come here. Booby. Where are you? Come here. Get off. Get down. No. You calm down. Come on. Come here. Oh, look at that. Good grief. Through the end. Messing the whole thing up. Hang on. Come here. Of course she'll come in here for a snack. Oh, actually, that might have been better. Here. Here's this. Come here, Boo. Booby. Come here. No, Moose. Out of the way. Come over here. Why are you acting so scared? There's nothing back there. Come here. They want to see you. Oh, God, you're big. Here, let's just walk you over here. She is so confused right now. Okay, move, Moose. This is turning into a... All I want to do is see you. I just want to show you off. It's show and tell. Come here. Y'all, she is acting like a total poodle right now. Okay. Come on. She's so confused. All right, y'all are going to have to look fast. Oh, goodness. Y'all see her? Look at her bows. Look. Okay. Good girl. Now go away. All right. Okay. Did y'all see her? Okay. Yeah. Good job. Now you can leave. That was like, they're too smart for their own good. Poodles tend to be kind of skittish, but it's funny because they're only skittish about stupid stuff. They're kind of like horses. Anyone else who works with horses will know that they spook at stupid stuff like balloons. Did y'all see her little bows? Yeah. Well, don't be fooled. Oh, she did. She gave me a full-on workout. She's 60 pounds, but when it's dead weight, it's like way more. This weekend, we're going to get it all right. Okay. I'm being a trooper, y'all. 4th night in a row. Let's go. Let's go. Okay. So let's go ahead and get started. Thanks to everybody for being here. I know I often have to bump it out, but it's usually it's because somebody else is going and I know that most of y'all watch Baron and Candace. And then other times it's like tonight you'll see why, because the presentation took me forever. Oh, I'm full. Yes, I know. I'm full on ADHD. I'm like, come on in. Let me go get my dog. Let me go get. Yeah. Well, good. I'm glad y'all feel like we're fam. Hey, it's all relatable. I cannot believe I showed the world the internet. Somewhere on the internet, my YouTube channel is my tooth from yesterday, you guys. Okay. All right. So, I just want to start this off by saying, welcome. I titled this presentation, Bringing 88 Back. That's obviously 1988. It just kind of, I heard that song today and I was like, oh, yeah, no, that's perfect. Going back to before Fort Huachuca and through the present day, and a bunch of, well, my opinions on who the players are involved, why this seems like a cover up, and a whole lot more. Oh, it's about to get crazy. Yeah, I cannot stand. Hang on. Oh, look, that's not bad. Oh, but when I move my computer, it is. You know what? That'll work. Just whatever. No, it won't. 1 second, you guys. Ah! Listen, y'all are on like the ground floor of the OGs, the beginning of this whole operation. So we're gonna look back on this once we get it all smoothed out. And we have a whole professional gig set up. It's gonna be good. Poor Nash. She's like, no. Look, this is my ring light, but the problem that I'm having is that it casts a shadow. Hang on. Maybe if I sit up higher, down lower. Yeah. Sometimes you just don't know until it's on. Fun fact, Anna does her makeup with the lighting and everything on and the camera on before it even goes on so that she can see how the lighting's going to make it look. All right. Y'all are just going to have to watch this PowerPoint anyways. Okay. Yes. Okay. So this first part is for entertainment only, you guys. I will say, because it is my opinion, that, hey, Green of Benign, all right, expressly, I do not think, and y'all are free to disagree, but really this is more about exercising free speech and opinion and saying what we have the right to say. I do think Erica knew. I also think that Victor Marks knew. And my evidence for this, I don't have any hard evidence. That's the thing. I'll tell you, this is my opinion. I don't have hard evidence, but based on the circumstances that we've all been seeing, that's a conclusion I'm drawing. And if anybody wants to call me evil for that, then that's fine. But I'm not going to turn off my common sense and pretend I don't feel that way, and that a lot of other people don't feel that way as well. I understand why other people have to be careful about, how they say and what they say, particularly candidates, because they're right on after her. But I don't think I don't think Erica did it. That's not what I don't think that's where it came from. I do think she knew. I'm not even going to say that Victor Marks did it, but I do think she knew, or he knew. And we're going to get into that. So this next part is what I'm saying for entertainment purposes only. So don't take it as me saying that Erica did it. But I thought y'all might enjoy this. So let me load it. Where is it? Oh, there it is. First, I thought maybe they took it from me. I was like, oh no. It's never a technical glitch, right? It's always like them cutting off the internet. I do think TPUSA knew. People at TPUSA knew. And yeah, but I'll say I don't think that they did it. And all of this is just based on context clues, pieces of data points that we've put together. I do think Erica is a honeypot. I do think that part of infiltrating a very fastly growing organization with access to money under the protections of the law with like business entities, charities. Yeah. And I'll say this too. And it's not that I said this last night. It is not that I am justifying any of it for her or absolving her of any wrongdoing, but I do think she never had a choice. I think she was born into this. And when I think it was a cult. I'm just going to say that. I think it's however you want to define it. I don't know who the cult is. I don't know. But the way they get people, I mean, the best way to do that would be to start them young. Yeah, Justin, I agree. And I'll say this too, Casey, I do think she is gay as well. Not that that matters. That only makes me, in a weird way, like not have. I want to find the right words. I don't want y'all to think that I empathize with her whatsoever. But what I do think is that in some way of looking at it, she is a victim as well, but she does not get to wash her hands clean of it. And I say that because if she's a child of circumstances where she was put into this and she was born and bred for it, it's the only way she knew, right? Yeah, we're going to go through this, Casey, and I think that hey, Orion, I think that it was brainwashing her. Like, it's more than that. It's indoctrination. And I think this happened starting from childhood. The thing about her being gay, I don't care. But it's just, it's even more sad when you know that the person can't live their life the way that they should. Like, they can't live their truth. And I also think, people have been asking, who is Erica? And I'm like, I don't even think Erica knows. I don't even think Erica knows who she is. So, having said that, yeah, you know what, Michael Aquino, I also think that, I do think Michael Aquino is actually her grandfather, but good point, because I forgot to work him in, and when we get there, we can talk about it. Yeah. Oh, yeah. So, Justin, I got you. Okay. So, here we go. Yeah, we're going to get to the Intel stuff. I really put a lot of thought into this. So, welcome to Bringing 88 Back. Before for some Fort in Arizona to now. And yeah, Erica gives me the chills too. But whenever I say victim, it's a saying, like, you take a child and you turn them into something to exploit. That's why we have to stop this stuff. And also, I mean, this happens all over the world. You can see this in terrorist organizations when they give 11-year-olds guns. They do. I mean, this is no better, right? Okay, so y'all might recognize the outfit here, which is from Clueless. That was actually released in 1995 for all of the young people in the crowd. Not in the 80s, but the reason I did this is because it is in reference to the Iggy Azalea song. And the that's the song Fancy, right? And so the music video is shot like this, like using Clueless as the theme. Let's see. Pageant shoes one. Yeah. You know, Orion, I think it happened long before then. And that John Casablanca thing came out like last week. And I felt like a ghost because I went through that John Casablanca program too. And so I was like, no way. No friggin' way. So I think I'm going to do a program on that as well. Okay. At some point. All right, here we go. So I know it's not 80s hair. This is totally 90s. This is actually my real hair too. It was just looking good. It's kind of dark hair. And do you guys see can you see the picture on the background? I don't know if y'all noticed what's on the whiteboard. Yeah, good. I'm glad it gave you Iggy Azalea vibes with the thumbnail because it's from the video. And so even though she's talking about bringing 88 back, it's like the theme of the shoot is Clueless, which I love. Yeah. Yeah, now it's Eyes Wide Shut. So the reason I bring this up is if you haven't seen Eyes Wide Shut, it's a phenomenal movie. It's absolutely terrifying. Stanley Kubrick's last film that he produced. And if you guys haven't seen it, go watch it. I won't give away the plot, but it is about the underground, right? Like these cults, and these do exist. Hey, Bonnie, welcome in. And Hollywood, they say, everything we see in Hollywood, all the scripts that are written, maybe even the songs, are based on real life, right? That's where they get these plots. So, you know, it's funny. I think about Stranger Than Fiction, and that's exactly what I feel like we're living in right now. Eyes Wide Shut was his last film, and there were people very, very upset with the plot, right? And I won't go into it. Anyways, do your research on it. This is Stanley Kubrick with Tom Cruise on set. And 4 days before he died is when he wrapped up the film. Yeah, he wrapped up the film and sent the final cut over to Warner Brothers 4 days before he died of a heart attack, is what they say. And I think, you know, back in the 90s, the idea of a conspiracy was just like, okay, yeah, I bet they did cut the film more. I bet they cut the film more because this was back in March and they released it in September. I think it was 99, but it does feel like it was earlier than that. But yeah, they had a whole 6 months before they ran it or, you know, released it to theaters. So I bring this up because we're about to get into the song that inspired this presentation. Oh, the final, yeah. I mean, listen, what they showed us was crazy enough. And for those of you who don't know, it is rumored to be that the people belonging to this cult, that it was real, and that they were very upset with the members who, give me just a second. Hang on. Okay. It wouldn't be alive without that, y'all. Yeah, I think they left a ton of the movie out, but what they left in was terrifying. Anyways, apparently the powers that be, which we all know now, are just look, the stuff that's coming out of Hollywood. Has anybody sat here and like realized that none of the big celebrities, no celebrities have talked about, like Hollywood has not talked about the Charlie Kirk investigation whatsoever. Nobody has talked about his death. and there is like probably a reason for that, right? All of the stuff about Diddy. Interestingly enough, there's a trial going on in Vegas right now, and it's going to go on, I think, for like another 2 weeks at least. And I think I'm going to go try to cover some of it. It is for the murder of Tupac. One of the men in the car, who has since admitted that he handed the gun over to his nephew, and his nephew is the one who shot him. They have prosecuted him. So there are also rumors that like Diddy ordered the hit. Yeah, my security alarm is going off. But I guess I say all that to say that it is interesting who runs this country, who runs the entertainment business. You can see that by who's not able to speak up, speak out. Oh, I would love to see that walking Wormwood. Apparently Danks has a really good. Yeah, the dogs are my security. Okay, so let's get into the song lyrics by Iggy and Charlie XCX. Here we go. So I have highlighted some of these very eerie lyrics. Yeah, I was on one whenever I started putting this together. So it says, first things first, I'm a realist. Drop this and let the whole world feel it. And I'm still in the murder business. I can hold you down like I'm giving lessons in physics, like ballistics, murder. Yeah. Okay. Let me just read the part that's relevant. And then if you drop down, she says rooftop like we're bringing 88 back, right? So it's like, I don't know, all of the lyrics in this song just like hit me today. I was like, rooftop like we're bringing 88 back. So obviously you can see the little clips here. Let's see. She says, I'm so fancy. You already know I'm in the fast lane from LA to Tokyo. And I didn't include it here, but all of the flights that Anna has tracked, and I was there like kind of tracking them in real time with her. But the TPUSA planes and the Mima planes that were meeting up and flying all over the world. Romania. Yeah. So she says, I'm so fancy. Can't you taste this gold? Remember my name. About to blow. This song is old enough. I'm not sure how old this is, but it is kind of eerie. Let's see. I said, baby, I do this. I thought that you knew this. Can't stand no haters. And honest, the truth is, I like am getting chills even just reading it. That my flow be retarded. Each beat, dear, departed. Swagger on stupid. Honeypot? I don't know. And then I won't read those to you. Said I get my money on time if they got my money decline. I just can't worry about no haters. Got to stay on my grind. You can see. And of course, I'm not going to say that any of y'all are haters. Let's see. Julian, Baron, Candace, yay. But anyways, now tell me who dat. Tell me who dat. Put paper over all. That's money over all. I thought that you knew that. And obviously hot girls don't eat fed slop. I've been working. I'm up in here with some change to throw. I'm talking about the fed slop. Make the phone call. There we go. There's Mikey. Feels so good getting one I want. Film star. Yeah, I'm deluxe. Can y'all see the background in that? Can you see the background that I pulled? How odd is it that she shot a film at Fort Huachuca that never made it to big screen, but here she is with a sniper gun on a roof. Still stunting how you love that. Got the whole world asking how I does that. Who are you? Who are you? Erica Kirk. Hot girl, hands off, don't touch that. Of course, this is all for entertainment purposes, but and then the last part of the song is about to blow, and they're talking about in the song they're like referencing guns, right? And so here I included everybody on your favorite theory about what happened to Charlie. So we've got the road mic, we have some of the bullet fragments that allegedly came from Charlie's body, and then we have a drone. Where was that picture taken? At Fort Huachuca. I'm pretty sure that's from Fort Huachuca. I think that's where they shot it. You see it? Maybe the other one's better. Okay, so anyways, that was our little intro about how everything that they're feeding us, I mean, the world is a stage right now, but at least the public is waking up. It is very eerie what they're doing and putting in front of us, like from Eyes Wide Shut to songs like this. And I certainly don't think that, Iggy Azalea and Charlie XCX wrote it for this, but it is very interesting. And sometimes you find songs that the lyrics just kind of haunt you. And you never know. Those lyrics are written from experience or, creative ideas. And yeah, with the gaslighting that's going on right now, it's almost like they know we know, but they don't care. And also, what are they going to do? Backtrack? They can't do that. Okay, so let me take you back to 1988, because that is when our Miss Kirk was born. All right, so we probably all, if you've been following Candace this whole time, you've probably seen this. This is the birth announcement that was in the paper, and she was born in Cincinnati, Ohio. Okay, so it says that she was born to Kent and Lori, who we know as her parents, who she holds out as her parents. Yeah, they're not going to throw their hands up and say, "Oh, you got me." They're going to just keep on lying. Okay, so I think, and yeah, this is my opinion based on everything I'm seeing, so I'm allowed to say this. I think that Erica was actually adopted by her grandparents. Because at the time, Lori and Kent would have been 39, right? They were living on the East Coast. Lori's family is from Ohio, and Kent's family is actually the family from Arizona. So just keep in mind. Her sister, we're going to call her T, because I don't want to bring any unwanted attention to her, but anybody who's been following this probably knows, right? So this is Lori's daughter. Sister T would have been 18 when Erica was born, and she would have just graduated from high school in May of 88, right? So track back, she would have been pregnant at her graduation, but probably not showing. And T was not married until 1995. I really do think that, she was adopted, because you can adopt right out of the hospital. And if you think about it, this kid, she's a kid. She's 18 years old. She gets pregnant last semester of high school. If this is what happened, she needs help. She probably does not have, like, her mom's on the other side of the country. If this is the case, who is dad, right? She has no job. Well, I'm sure she has a job, but you know what I mean? Like, it takes money and stability to raise a child, even, back in the 80s. So to me, it would make sense. And this would not be a shame on anybody, actually. If this is true, this makes this story so much more sad to me. Okay, so we do know that Lori and Kent moved back from the East Coast probably just a month or two before Erica is born, right? And when Candace was covering some of this, she was saying Lori would have had to been like 7, 8 months pregnant. I can't imagine them picking up and leaving, right? And moving all the way back to Ohio for what? And at the time, they move back and they buy a house on Observatory Drive, as you can see in the listing. And I have the address. I actually know which house it is. So a while ago, I did a lot of research on this. This was months and months and months ago. So that house on Observatory Drive, T is associated with it beginning January of 89. It would have been 89. I messed up here, January 88, to until September of 97. And this is when Lori and Kent end up selling the house. So they bought the house, right? And from the records, it does appear that T was living there with them. Or, you know, maybe she's associated with the house because she just decided to get mail there. I don't know. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Look, to be fair, Reginator says she had a baby at 39. It is like not out of the question at all. Yeah, non-88. Yeah, I know. You know, what's funny is I am a month younger than Erica, and my mom would have been just about the same age too. You had twins at 46. That is amazing. Yeah, it's definitely not out of the ordinary. It is not. The only thing is usually, I mean, hey, it happens and it's a miracle. I think that Lori had already had T. T was graduating high school, right? Lori and Kent had their own life on the others, like on the East Coast. So, I mean, Erica could be hers. She really could be. That's not odd. Maybe it could be that she wanted to raise this baby closer to her family because, you know, she's from Ohio. So that could be the case. But we don't really know. Yeah. That's amazing. You're so lucky to have twins at 46. That is so amazing. It is never too late, and babies are definitely a gift. And but when you're 18, you panic. I think you'd like panic. So this right here with it, and really in the, you know, does it matter? Does it matter if she was adopted by her grandparents? No, not really. It doesn't. But with everything that we do and do not know, I can say here it would matter with what we're about to get into. And it just kind of fits to me. So at some point, right, the baby is living, and little Erica, it kills me if this is how it went down. Okay. Little baby Erica is living with mom and grandparents, if this is our hypothesis, in Ohio, in Cincinnati, until about 97. So that would make her 8 years old. And at some point, Erica and Lori end up back in Arizona. For the purposes of this presentation, it doesn't matter like when that was. There's some back and forth on that. But we do know, and Kent does too, right? Because Kent's family is from Arizona. And from what I can tell, I mean, his family seems pretty well off. I don't know if Kent is more self-made or if he had family money. I don't know. But people were talking about Kent's sister maybe being Erica's mother. I don't think that that's the case, you know. And it wouldn't matter except in the context that I'm about to present it. Okay, so Erica does graduate high school in Scottsdale. She graduates from ASU. And then she represents Arizona in Miss Arizona 2012, right? But she's not living in Arizona at that time. But anyways, she did grow up in Arizona. That is true. You know, they moved there. But when she said that, the way that she spun it as if her mom was a single mom, she was saying that as if like, I think that was an emotional trigger, you know, like a sympathy pool, because even if Lori was single, technically not married, it seems to me that there was help there. She wanted to like spin the single mom thing, which I cannot believe she came out and said that later about her own kids. Like, okay, you have the money to be with your kids. Like, how dare you compare it to a single mom working a bunch of jobs? Okay, Z, I'm sorry to hear that you can't, but some, you can be a mom even as an aunt, and you can never have too many parental figures. And I am of the firm belief that you can never have, we have a capacity for as much love as God hands us. Like, it doesn't have to be, even in split families, when mom and dad are split and they get remarried, step parents, you can have two dads and two moms. It is not a thing. But I am sorry to hear that. Okay, so let's fast forward to Colorado, where we know Victor Marx is from, right? And I recall there was an episode of Candace where she talks about, for a while we had a gap in time about where Erica was in 2008. And I couldn't find the clip, but y'all might remember where Erica had said that there was a period of time where she didn't talk to anybody and she was like gone for like 6 to 9 months or something. And she went to stay with a pastor and his wife in Colorado. And everybody thought Erica had been hiding a pregnancy or something, but I never thought that. But I actually think what it was, 8 months. I'm reading the chat. Yeah. No, I don't think that, Nash. I actually think that Victor is her dad. So, getting the princess home, this is right after all of that. Look at this photo on the bottom left, you guys, and tell me what you think about that. I'm sure you've seen it. To me, they look identical. And that is why I brought up, was Erica adopted by her grandparents? Because it's here. It's here. Yeah. All of it. Spitting image. This is her without makeup on. Yeah. Yeah, isn't it crazy? The similarities. So, whenever I was thinking about this, I was looking at the age difference between Victor and her sister, and it's only like 5 or 6 years. It's not a huge age gap, but this guy, so the middle picture over here, it's kind of clipped out, but that is Victor from a long time ago. And objectively, he's not ugly. He's an attractive man, and he always has been. If he wasn't so evil, I mean, he is attractive though. Just he's not bad looking, and neither is Erica's not really. She's not ugly either. I mean, they are both objectively good looking, right? But think about it. If it is the case that her sister is actually her mother, she's 18. I think she was living like with her grandparents because mom and Kent were gone her senior year. So I would be sneaking out. I would definitely be finding guys. And it is not so wild to think that she found an older guy. He's not that much older. He's 5 or 6 years, right? So then also this top picture right here, top left, that is Eileen Marks seeing Erica for the first time after Charlie died. And it's just, I don't know. You'll have to go see the whole clip. It looks so fake. What do y'all think? Yeah, they do look alike. Let me see what my next slide is. Okay. So what do y'all think about that? I don't think there's really much to say except they look like spitting images. So who knows, right? if it is that Erica is his, and real mom, gave the baby up for adoption to her parents to raise, like, to me, that is a heartbreaking piece in itself, because why, like, was there some kind of manipulation there? Like, why can't grandparents just help? Why do they need to adopt her? It could have been something like they said, well, you don't have insurance. We need to get her on insurance. Think of all the ways you can twist that story. And this would make sense to me if Victor is her dad. She must have been kept away from him during her childhood growing up. And then the first opportunity that she gets to go see him, that this would make sense, right? And of course, to me, this makes so much more sense about why she behaves the way she does, if this were correct. Now, this is all a bunch of inferences, right? Inference upon inference. This would not work in the preliminary hearing. Okay. I do have a picture of Kent somewhere. And you could say, yeah, she looks like Kent. I mean, she does look like Lori, but I mean, if we're saying often you look like your grandparents a lot. Classmate got pregnant in the 70s and parents adopted the baby. You know what? Yeah, and this was the late 80s. So this could have been like a thing back then. I don't really know. And back to what Justin had brought up about Thomas Aquino, I think Thomas Aquino is Marx's dad. That is what I have thought. They all look so similar. If you think about the story he tells about his dad not being there or being raised by a stepdad, I don't know how much of the story is true and how much it is made up, but there has to be elements of the truth in there. And if y'all don't know who Thomas Aquino is, go ahead and go look it up. But when we're thinking back to like, yeah, when we're thinking back to the idea of Eyes Wide Shut and why they were so upset with Stanley Kubrick and the member who leaked the details for the movie. Yeah. And this all goes to, these are not Christians. These are ballist Satan worshipers. Okay. Yeah. Thomas Aquino is a problem in all this. Not to mention, I saw a picture floating around the other day that looked real of Lori and Kent hanging out with Thomas Aquino at a party. And they had those hoods and capes like they did in Eyes Wide Shut. Yeah, it's gross. It's gross. And like I said, I feel like this needs to be talked about. She's put herself in the spotlight. So has he. He's running for governor. Yeah, I don't have proof, but I do have common sense and like life experience. And it's fair. Like, this is not China. We can speak and criticize our government, right? Oh, hubby and I raised, Tammy says, hubby and I raised our oldest daughter's best friend's baby. That's so sweet. Back in the 80s. We had a baby almost 3 years, got her. Oh, I'm so sorry you had to give her back. Yeah, it's rough. I mean, my mom was young too. My mom was in the military, of course. Everybody was in the military. So my grandparents like had me pretty much until I was probably 4 or 5. So grandparents really do step in. I mean, even now, but even so, it just seems like it was a thing back in those days. Okay. So Victor, Marx, and Charlie. Oh man. Okay, y'all. Far right, Victor Marx. This is his book, The Dangerous Gentleman, forwarded by Charlie Kirk. far left, Victor Marks, a friend of mine and spiritual mentor, Charlie Kirk. And then this middle one is a clip of Victor with Charlie. And you just have to think, what are the odds? What are the odds? How did Victor and Charlie intersect, right? If we're saying that this was a random chance happening. Oh, I hope not. There are people out there who are trying to, I mean, yeah, I don't want to say anything else about that, but here we go. Okay, so we all know who Victor Marks is, right? I find this top left photo to be very odd with Erica. Like, why is she so close to them? I don't know whether it was Victor and his wife who she went to stay with in Colorado for 9 months. But if you think about too, if this kid didn't grow up with her dad, how eager she would be to meet him, make him proud. And if Victor has this whole operation going on that we'll talk about, then you could see how she would fall into line like that, right? Not everybody, people are vulnerable. People have vulnerabilities. And I'm not saying that, like, again, whatever she knows, whatever role she played, she's not absolved of responsibility for that. But it's important we think about the psychology of how this all could have happened, because when you're away from it, you don't you're like, okay, when I'm rationally thinking, you can't understand why we have so many people operating like this. But then whenever you do the research on like cult mentality, you can see, and they often use spirituality or religion to brainwash people. Okay. So I want to give a shout out to the Substack called Candace Owens Fans, because I was looking for a good synopsis, because I was trying to throw this all together of Candace's interview with Corby Hall. And I'm sure we all know about Corby. Definitely he and Victor Marks are not on good terms. And I think we all know, or you're all probably familiar with that episode, right? Okay, so I pulled some clips from there. Thank you to this Substack owner, because you really helped me whenever I was on crunch time. I know I like Corby a lot. I do. He's a nice guy too. So just a reminder. So Corby, he owns Fold AR and has the patent on the most compact AR-15 in the world, and that is true. Corby is extremely intelligent. He owns a ton of patents, and it's wild. It's really, he should have gone into engineering, honestly. So Fold AR, the brand has been around since 2018, and he is out of East Texas. And I copied and pasted things here, so I'm just going to kind of go over it. So they have a couple of employees, and they make a few thousand rifles a year. So he's talking about, the Fold AR, and he's saying it's the most compact, but it's also a caliber swap. And he talks about how you do that. And so Candace asked how Victor became interested in his gun, right? And he goes back to say, okay, so it was late 2023, and his girlfriend at the time was showing him how to make some Instagram. Was showing him like Instagram posts of Victor, right? And he was demonstrating like compact weapon system, and Victor was looking for, it says here, the most versatile compact weapon system that's out there. This is literally like what Corby said. Anyhow, so let's see. Back on track, ADHD. So anyways, Corby's wife had Corby message Victor on Instagram. And this was off of her Instagram, I believe. And he responded right away, invited them up to his house in Colorado Springs. KZ Nash, who are y'all talking about? Corby? Yeah, because what pastor doesn't want a folded AR on his hip, right? Okay. Yeah. Okay, so he says we drove there on the 1st of December. There were about 20 people around, and they were all really nice. And he was able to demo the gun. They went to the gun range, and everybody was like super excited to take pictures. And there were all kinds of people there from like the military and, gun enthusiasts, all that. So he says later, whenever he was sitting in his car, Victor comes up and says, I really don't meet too many people that are at the pinnacle of their industry. And Corby's like, okay, I don't take compliments real well. And he knew that. Like, he knew how good his gun was, right? But this was the first time anyone significant had said anything to him about it, because he does have a small company. And so he says, when he heard that, he's like, okay, at least somebody gets it. And so therein starts the influence of Victor on Corby. And Victor tells him he's looking at the signature series from bigger companies, but he prefers Corby's gun. And Victor notes that Corby and his girlfriend at the time, right, have a very unique connection that is unusual. And he comments on that, right? Oh, really, Justin? Oh, we will get to that, Tammy. I'm here for it tonight. We have a big presentation. All right. So then Corby and his wife, they end up getting married, right? But they're invited over to the Marks' house, and Victor told them the hands of God were on their lives. So here you go. Here you start the manipulation process. And he says, I feel like y'all are about to come into abundance. Corby says, a lot of other people have said that over the years, but something about what Victor was saying didn't sit right. But he was hoping that was true because Victor understood his product, right? And that would be a big win for him. So I get it. He's like, okay, something doesn't feel right. That's your intuition going off, Corby. And so Victor asks why they're not married, and they had both been married before, and he says, do you know what a retooling prayer is? And they're like, no. And Corby says to Candace, like, I didn't know, it didn't click with me that this was something to watch out for. Like, I was just excited we were here. This seems like it might be what I've been working for 20 years, basically. And stress and lawsuits. Yeah, Corby's been in a lot of lawsuits, but he's won them. Fact. Yeah, Corby was vulnerable, and he spotted that. I mean, people who are out to exploit others they're psychologically, they're with it. And I will say, Victor, if you didn't know all this stuff about Victor, and he was like a guy you met, he's cool, he's good looking, he seems to have connections to, in the gun world, like he could help, right? Okay. And then Victor says, hey, let's do a retooling prayer. And Corby doesn't know like anything about this. Yeah, they can smell a mark. Mm-hmm. Corby is very lucky he got out of this. Very lucky. Okay. So they do this retooling prayer, right? And Candace is asking Corby about this, and he says it's basically Victor judging the demons that are attached to Corby, and that believers can't be possessed by demons. It's scripture. That's, and so when you have believers come into this quasi-exorcism, you can't call it an exorcism. He goes on about all that stuff. you know, I'll spare you like the details about that. But essentially, it's like this. It is this like quasi exorcism, right? And that's when Candace is like getting the chills. I think whenever I was listening to it, I got the chills. I was like, okay, first of all, who is this Corby guy? And is what he's saying true? Because we don't know him. He seems to come out of nowhere. Like, we're all kind of weird about this investigation. You know, we're worried about Candace. We're worried about, you know, what's being said is true. Are they sending people in? And I will say now, like, I'm totally Team Corby all the way. See, apparently Victor has since publicly renounced his claim to be a pastor, but Corby remembers Victor believing he was anointed by God as an apostle. Okay, so Corby and his wife, they go back home to Texas and they begin working on the signature series for Victor. And they had it ready for the SHOT Show in January 2024. And just so you know, that's in Vegas every year in about January, February. And it's like the biggest gun show in the country. So he gave Victor 2 of them at the show and displayed the rest of them at their booth. And then days before, you know, the show, Corby and Victor are texting, and Corby's like, I'm going to propose. And Victor is like, well, I can officiate the wedding, right? So that happens. And just so you know, like, she was the CEO of his company and had been for about 2 years. And they go up to Victor's hotel room where they do the ceremony. And then Corby talks about how Victor, they end up finding out like Victor was not certified to officiate weddings in Nevada. But Corby is like, I'll just file the paperwork in Texas. And he's saying like, you know, this was a big red flag, but at the time, whatever, he's in love. He's like, whatever, don't worry about that. We'll just do it on paper when we get home. So then Candace goes into, okay, when did you guys start having issues in your, you know, in your friendship, you and Victor? And he talks about this interview with radio host Sebastian Gorka, who loves guns and wanted Corby to come on his show. But of course, Corby didn't want to be interviewed. Corby's just like not the type to want to do that. And I think a lot of us can understand, like, that's very ick being in front of a camera sometimes and being interviewed. So it was a big deal, I think, for him to go on Candace. And so anyways, Corby says, hey, will you go on with Melody in my place and talk about the full day art, right? And this is a reasonable ask too, because at this point he's thinking we're kind of like in this business together, right? So then in August of 24, Victor messages Corby. Yeah, I know, Sebastian is, right? Victor messages Corby saying he needs a 1,000-yard capable rifle with a scope on it and a camera pretty quick. And so Corby's like, all right, I can put this together because I already have the components. The barrel was 1,100, and there's a $5,000 scope on it, which is crazy. That must be a great scope. Okay, so Victor tells Corby that he wants to use it to blow the head off of somebody that sticks their head up over the fence around this orphanage in Haiti. And that they have some kind of watchtower in the middle of it because apparently people are climbing over the fence and trying to rob the orphanage. This is what Victor tells Corby. This is what Corby says. And so Corby says, I told him I wasn't going to leave it with him if that's what he's doing. So they had the conversation before about like shooting watermelons, but it became, when that conversation shifted, it was like shifting into, obviously, Victor wanted to shoot people. Totally. This is all very relevant to, Charlie's assassination. So stick with me. It's a bunch of stuff, you guys. So Corby says he wants to sell his rifles to military law enforcement. You know, he knows that obviously it's going to be to shoot people, but not like this type of mercenary type of operation. And he says he's my spiritual authority figure. I'm not to question, I am to do. That's like what his relationship with Victor was at the time, and that he was there to deliver. But Corby told him to just do the watermelon, right? And you can see the influence that's already over him. And he is vulnerable. He's a vulnerable person. Some people just are. And then he says, then shooting the head off a person, transpired in him to saying, well, I'm going to go in and execute or capture Jimmy Barbecue. And it's the first time Corby's ever heard of this guy. He goes back to like the watermelon ideas, and he says, just put the watermelon up on the fence, shoot it, get your propaganda video, and we can distribute it in Haiti and they won't jump anymore. Yeah. So basically Corby's saying, just let's shoot a video. You can shoot the watermelon, send it as propaganda, and they won't do it anymore. Right. So Victor is like super annoyed with Corby, but agrees to stick with the watermelon video idea. So Corby left the gun with him. Yeah. The part I am leaving out is the whole point of Corby wanting to do this is to distribute it to like school police, officers, so that they could easily put it together. That was his purpose in getting these out. So in November, Victor flies by private plane to Corby's shop in East Texas. And when they're alone, Victor asks Corby for 50 guns to drop off in Haiti. So Corby, being in the business, he's like, I know it's an embargo country. I've exported guns to many different countries, and I know the process. It's never easy. And he's like, I just knew that Haiti wasn't on the approved export list. So he tells Victor, no, I can't do that because Haiti is the last place you're going to let me export guns. So I really suggest you don't do that with any other firearms either. And Corby says, I'm still giving him the benefit of the doubt, just assuming that he doesn't know the export laws. But Victor's holding himself out to be as a high-risk humanitarian abroad. He's been to all these other countries and has done operations, allegedly. And in hindsight, of course, he knew you can't take them to Haiti and drop them off. That's what Corby's saying. So Candace asks what Victor had told him about these missions because she had told her priest about it. Let's see. Yeah. Because her priest told her that he did these high-risk humanitarian operations, she'd wonder about his background and who he was working for. And Corby replied that Victor had talked about previous trips to Haiti and gangs there. Autocorrect, yeah. So he knew it was possible to get approval to travel with personal firearm, but to leave guns in another country is illegal. And that's when Candace interjects and says it's weapons trafficking. Okay, so the final meeting that Corby had with Victor was in April. And he says the context around this was multifaceted. I was having issues with my wife, and we were talking about biblical things. He was mentoring me during this whole relationship. Trump had also gotten elected in November of 2024. And, he's saying what in the gun industry is what they call they called it a Trump slump. And basically he says anytime a Republican is elected, the demand for firearms goes down. And he's saying, things were getting really tough. You have to pivot as a manufacturer to survive in this kind of environment. And we just didn't have the resources to pivot. And he talks about how he was telling Victor about he was struggling with substance abuse. And he had been since 2020. And he also had high anxiety and didn't want to get on SSRIs again. So, God, poor Corey. And he says, with my wife in the CEO position, we had increased our revenue by 350% in the 3 years prior. We became the 60th 60th fastest manufacturer in the country, and we were growing fast in the region. And now he's like, now we're really tanking really fast. So he was going to Victor looking for some support, you know, not only, I mean, with the company and also as like a spiritual mentor. And then Corby talks about how he had a moment where he was super suicidal, and he was sitting like in a Walmart parking lot, and he had actually bought life insurance with a suicide allowance in it. And there is like, Candace did show the text, and basically Victor was just saying, don't do that. The attorneys will always have a way to get around it. I can have you disappear if you want. Yeah. Who are they busy running guns to in Haiti? Well, it gets better. Okay. So by April, Corby is separated from his wife. Victor offers to fly him over to Colorado, but he declines instead and drives there. He said he had been studying the Bible and had finally become aware of false spiritual leaders. And he points this out to Victor. And when they come to meet him at his hotel, they're wearing bulletproof vests. And Victor says he's just trying them out. And he's like, Victor offers a retooling prayer, but Corby refused it. And Corby goes on about that. Let's see. That next part's not that important for this. Okay. So Victor gets Corby into like a detox program, and he basically goes. Corby tells Candace about that, right? And he's like, it seems a little new agey, and he talks about red light therapy, I think is what it was. But hey, I'm a proponent of it. But anyways, they spoke later about selling the business and getting an investor, and Victor said he had made a $20 million valuation on Corby's business in the patent. And then Corby gives 2 conditions for the acquisition of his company, right? That the weapons have to go to school resource officers, like y'all were saying earlier in the chat, and that Corby and his wife will have enough money to not have to work. Okay, so Victor says he wants 51% of the company, but could only come up with a valuation of $2 million. But like, he'd put in $2 million to start. Candace says this is crazy. I also think it's crazy too. She says Victor must have really thought that Corby was under a spell. And Corby says, in some ways, I'm still not fully over it. And basically, Corby was not happy to have Victor over control of the company and patent, but he didn't full out reject this offer just yet. So he says, we're walking around the tracks. He stops and says, well, Israel needs your guns. So this is where Israel comes in. And Victor tells the bodyguard to take a step back. And so they can maybe like talk privately or something. And Victor says they have 3,700 schools who could use the gun. And he says, no, they need, well, I guess that was Corby saying they have 3,700 schools, right, that need the gun. And Victor tells him, no, they need 50,000 for the IDF operations in Gaza, Lebanon, and Syria. Justin, are you just now hearing this for the first time? You have been going super hard to give us play-by-play. Yeah, I know, right? It's a lot. So at this point, it's too many red flags for Corby. They're looking at each other, and he says, I could whoop your ass and there ain't nothing you could do about it. And Corby says he's like kind of laughing inside, but like keeping a straight face. I'm sure that, I don't know, whatever. And then I guess Victor looks at him and is like, you know what? That's why I'm never engaging in scripture with you. And I know that this is kind of like a lot to follow along with, but I promise this relates to everything. So just stick with me. Okay. It is a lot, you guys. It is so a lot. But that's why everybody's working on different parts of it, and it's hard to bring it all together, which is what I've been trying to do with this presentation and others. Okay. Okay, cool. Yeah, retooling it equals a scam. Okay. And so then Corby says on Candace's show, I really wonder what scripture has to do with guns. And I'm not against the idea, but what about the school mission? We agreed this rifle was, designed to protect kids. And Corby's like, I'm just confused about the whole situation. And how did we get so off track? And that Corby says that's the moment that he was done, but he didn't say that to Victor. One good week, and I'm looking like, yeah. Hey, Justin, you always can. Okay. And then Candace does remind Corby about a gun that had gone missing, like right after that Corby had sold, that goes missing. Let's see. They had shipped it to a gun store in Texas in June 2024. But apparently, like a month later, the gun gets stolen. But Corby doesn't get notified by the ATF until the day of Charlie's assassination, which is super weird, right? Okay, so there's all of that background with Victor and Corby and the guns and the possible potential for trafficking firearms, right? So Candace starts to talk on her show to Corby about the falling out between Charlie and Victor. Okay, so she reveals that there was a big falling out between Charlie and Victor, and that they had completely stopped speaking to each other and unfollowed each other on social media. So Candace goes on to say, so I really wonder how then his wife was so close to him and Aline. So she's talking about Erica. Like, how is Erica so close to them? And they're one of the first people that she wants to hug and connect with after the assassination. Also up. And he also happens to be the first person that announced Charlie's death on social media, and then he removed the video, which is true. So Candace goes on to say the Egyptian planes that she's tracked were trafficking weapons, and saying it's not a coincidence that so many people around Erica are involved with trafficking charities and orphanages. And then she goes on to say, and the current that runs through all of this is faux faith, and it feels like the entire world was given this retooling prayer after Charlie died. She says, I feel like suddenly we're being told this is all God ordained, and this is who you have to follow, and this is who you need to listen to. And if you question this, then you've got demons in you. Okay, so there's that. And then they discuss the possible bullets that could have killed Charlie, and Corby says he thinks it was possibly a subsonic 300 blackout. And you know what I found that I couldn't find again today, which was taking me forever, is Victor's son was Charlie's personal assistant for a while, up until this fallout. And this fallout happened a couple months before Charlie died. And I knew that because it was in one of Victor Marx's posts. In fact, you know, the clip of Erica hugging Elaine, that's actually a video. And I remember this from weeks ago, finding that on there, saying like, he called his son by just his initials. And he was like, he was Charlie's personal assistant for a while. So he's very upset with this by this too. But whenever I went back today to find it, to actually like show you guys here, it wasn't there. The same video is there, but it's almost like the caption and stuff had been edited. Yeah, Victor Marx's son was Charlie's assistant. So when you're talking about being surrounded by snakes, so that is why I brought up the possibility that Victor could be Erica's dad, because biological father. Because if that is the case, this stuff just makes so much more sense. Otherwise, I don't understand how these paths crossed. Yeah. So Walking Warm Food says, man, if she was his kid, how gross is that surrounding Charlie like that? But how very easy too. And you got to remember, we believe, based on what we have seen with tracking these planes, that they are trafficking weapons to Israel. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure even if she's not his biological, I mean, someone connected her with him, right? In this whole, whatever it is he has going on. I don't know. I've never seen his kids. It was in 2024. It's May 2025. That greenhorn. Okay. I'll have to, let me write that down. Is that somebody else? Okay. So, as I had said earlier, following in real time with Anna, and as she was actually coming up with the information that she's put out, I was there with her on the phone looking at this stuff, and it was crazy finding it in real time. But essentially, and I just clipped this here. This is just random. This means nothing, but this is from the flight tracker website, which is really cool. It's open source, by the way, so it's not like it's any secret to get into it. I just don't think a lot of people know about it. Yeah, probably not just weapons. I don't think it's just weapons. But I don't want to go saying things yet. But yeah, I mean, what's going to stop a criminal from trafficking other things? Yeah. So Bonnie says CK was a self-described virgin upon marrying Erica at 26, and Erica was 31. I think he was naive because invulnerable in that sense that, I mean, he had never dated. He had no frame of reference. He just graduated from high school. He had just graduated from high school when he started TPUSA. That is true. So what we found whenever we started going back through the flights from 2025 was, and remember, they kept Charlie super, super busy, right? He was so busy, he probably couldn't have caught this stuff. And when you are that busy, you outsource. You have somebody making your reservations. You have someone at the company doing your finances. You do this, you do that, because you just don't have the time to do it, right? Oh, I bet she was very specific today about what those planes were carrying. I know. I haven't gone there yet because I have long believed that for other reasons, but I don't want to get into it yet. Yeah. But anyways, so we see that I said, hey, we know where Mima lives. Can you go and let's see like when and where the TPUSA planes meet up in Vegas. And when they meet up with, I mean, she was like, okay, let's like, also she's seeing when they met up with mommas planes. And we started seeing so many patterns of the TPUSA planes meeting up with mommas planes all across the country, right? And what's odd is they would be on the tarmac or wherever they were for like less than 30 minutes. And I ruled it out too. I said, could it have been like a refuel, anything like that? And she said, based on the like type of aircraft and stuff, no, like that wouldn't be necessary. And it also wouldn't like, you know, we can easily rule that out. So it seemed to be that they're meeting up to do what? What do they do? Probably pass off firearms, right? Yeah, I'm watching the chat. Well, walking warm food, like depending on where you live, planes could be everywhere. The Hades jet was definitely over my house a couple hours before it went over to Nashville last week before that. So we're gonna stop right here for a second, and y'all tell me what you think. This is why it's so hard to sit somebody down who has no idea. Like, if you there, be like, okay, tell me everything about why you think Charlie was killed, who killed him, what was going on, and then you start to sound crazy, right? And it's because to understand this, you have to understand that. Yeah. I mean, it kind of startled me only because like the gift of discernment in me is really strong, and whenever Furman put it up on X that they were over like Nashville, I was like, Anna, check my house. And it had been over, and it's like I live in I won't say where I live, but I mean it's not, it wouldn't be it would be an uncommon place, I think, for this Hades jet to be on any random day. But there are a lot of military operations out of here too, so I'm really not that phased by it. But it was weird. Yeah, this is literally not possible without the yarn board, for real. Yeah. Okay. Let me see what's coming up. What is our next one? They never found the fold AR. They did not. It is a gift, and it's really eerie too. I wish I could use it for other things, but it's like so much of this has been God. Honestly, it's like I get that hit, and it's that's it. A little behind. Victor's son was Charlie's handler. I think he had a number of handlers, and when we talk about this, like I think that if we're gonna identify handlers, it was people to keep him in line, right? I think Erica, Andrew Colbert, is his business partner. And then, of course, if you get Victor Marx's kid in there, reporting back. Let's see where we're at. Oh, yeah. Okay. So this is Fort Huachuca. I'm going to take a drink. Everyone have a drink. We got through the wordy stuff. This is an aerial view of Fort Huachuca. It looks pretty cool. Some Fort in Arizona. Who drove the SUV that Snap rode into UBU? I don't know who was driving that. I think I remember him getting out of the back. I think they're all handlers in the sense that if the handler is to keep somebody in line, that's what it is. Yeah. Drink break. I agree. Okay. So back to our theme. Remind me later. Okay. So it was going back to 88 before Fort Huachuca up until now. This is a picture of Fort Huachuca. I believe Charlie's recent assistant was one of the people in the car. Yeah. If I remember correctly. IIRC. I just got that. Oh, nice. Hey, send a copy over, like a real one. Oh, really? What does it look like it spells out? I'm on the big screen. Look at that. Look at that. Okay, so, when recently, I mean, this was the time that I decided to finally start making YouTube videos, because what Anna and I found was shocking with the Google Trends, okay? And I was like, okay, I know a lot about, I feel like I have a lot to say, and I have a lot of things I want people to know, and a different way of connecting the dots. So I'm going to do it. So it was at this point. This was only like 5-6 weeks ago. It seems like an eternity ago, but it really was just yesterday. They do look like symbols. Oh, good. I'm so glad your tooth is better. Sorry if I put that energy on anybody. Okay, so then, like, at the time when we found what I'm about to show you, which you probably already heard, and if you haven't, then you must. Sometimes I'm shocked what doesn't go viral and what doesn't get picked up by Candace and Barron. I do think, they've got so much information, and they have like a set show, that rolls out, and Candace only goes 1 hour 4 times a week. When you start creating these videos, you realize, like, oh my gosh, that is so tight, and their inboxes are full. But I was shocked that this did not pick up as much traction as it did, or, that didn't pick up more traction. At the time, there was a big fight going on about Fort Huachuca, and someone who seems to be on our side, meaning the side thinking that it's odd that they're covering all this stuff up, right? She didn't believe the Fort Huachuca story. So I just messaged her, because I was like, what is it that you don't believe? And why? Because the more you know about maybe why, someone with a different opinion of you than you, like, you need to hear them out. And what she said changed everything for me. Not about Fort Huachuca, but about the timing. She said, I just don't believe that they planned all of that in one weekend. And I was like, oh my goodness, bingo. They couldn't have planned all of that in one weekend. And I'm not saying Fort Huachuca didn't happen. What I'm saying is, with the run up to Charlie's assassination, if there was any foul play going on, Fort Huachuca would have been the last meeting, not the first, right? And so on the phone with Anna, and I was like, all right, we got to do these Google Trends. I need you to see if we can find, and I jumped on my computer too, because we were really in the thick of like Google Trends at that moment. And I said, let's run Tyler's name and Lance's name through Google Trends. And if you don't know what Google Trends does, and here, I'll flip it to the next screen. Okay. So in Google Trends, what you do is you pick a place, right? And then you pick a time frame. And then you have to run search terms. And what that means is, like, for instance, we set it to Vegas, and we set it between May of 2025 and the day before Charlie died. And what that means is, whatever you're searching for, if you get data points, those search terms were being searched in Vegas at that time. So, for instance, JDA, Erica Francevay, Kent Francevay, and Lori Francevay, that is a company that they're all associated with, right? Was being Googled out of Vegas at the same time as Lance Twiggs and Tyler Robinson. So the significance of this is they were being, look at this, this was in July. Charlie didn't die until September. So tell me why two guys who were unknown to anyone were being Googled out of Vegas. Isn't that crazy? Oh, I didn't see it walking Wormwood, but I was told I needed to. So, yeah, we found this. And you know who lives in Vegas is Meemaw. So they had been Googling, somebody in Vegas had been Googling all of these people. So in these search terms, you have to put it in quotations so that it's an exact hit, right? It won't pull in anything else. It is an exact hit. So they were Googling Lance and Tyler all at the same time in July 24th. So to me, this smells like they're planning something and they're looking for patsies. That's exactly what it looks like to me. And also, they were Googling the boy's address too. You see that blue spike? That would be the day that somebody in Vegas Googled their address. So these two kids, they're 22 years old. Why in the world would why would anybody in Vegas be Googling them? So to me, this shows that these kids are patsies. That's exactly what this is. I just really can't explain it away. I can't explain to you why any other logical reason that anybody in Vegas would be searching for their house address, for their address. Oh yeah, they've removed all of this, by the way. And only the government can do that so quickly. The government is only, their agencies are the only ones who can ask Google to immediately take that stuff down. And a lot of this stuff is gone now. Okay, so what do you guys think about that? About Lance and Tyler being Googled beforehand? If you have any thoughts. It is compelling. I can't come up with another reason that is logical, innocent. Yeah. They're picking patsies is what they're doing. I mean, these are just two kids. Yeah, it is. Very, very compelling. So that's what I mean when I say, look, I don't have proof, but we have a bunch of data points. That kind of converge. Yeah. It could have been anybody. They're not popular. It's not like they knew girls who had crushes on them and like they went on a girls' trip to Vegas and they're Googling the guy's apartment and down to the unit number. It was the unit number too. As well as at the same time, they're Googling Erica and her parents and Johnny Moore. Um, and some of you guys have seen this presentation. Yeah, me too. Thanks, Bradley. I'm glad I started doing this too. I knew this was going to be a big presentation, so thanks, guys, for being here. Okay, so I know some of y'all have seen this presentation before, but we'll quickly go through it because I think this ties into everything. And the title of this presentation was there another plan for UVU on 9/10? Meaning, was it supposed to be a mass casualty event? And last night in the chat, we were talking because they had found like PVC pipe, they had found random guns places. We've got all kinds of things going on that are odd. If it was just, remember, their narrative is it's a furry that went crazy and shot him, right? So why do we have all these other things going on at the same time that are very, very weird? Okay, I want to see what Dilly dropped. Yeah. Okay. So this ties in. So my thought was, was it supposed to be, was one option that this was supposed to be a mass shooting? They could have achieved the same thing with Charlie had it been that, right? And someone in the chat last night said that like they have the military, they have options, right? Like they usually run like options packages, I think is what it was called. So they, even if these weren't options, they certainly did things, and there were guns that showed up everywhere. There was like PVC pipe in the bag, and they're saying that like could have been used to make a bomb. Like they have a couple of different narratives that could have been chosen, right? Is what it kind of seems like. So why would they have done this that day? They could have done it to draw attention away from just Charlie's assassination. Well, Walking Wormwood, I think they're what you're saying. So Walking Wormwood says, I doubt it because of how many people were distributed throughout the audience. So I think they realized they couldn't pull it off. I think that's one thing, is perhaps it was an option, but they took it off the table. And I don't know, but there are some really odd coincidences. So they could have also done this to support the Fed slop narrative that I was a crazy leftist, right? To keep us distracted with fighting. I mean, think if that had happened, we would be the narrative would be. I mean, we would be scattered, with the victims and with Charlie, and it would have seemed like some radical that did this. Yeah. Yeah, that could be right. They have multiple scenarios mapped out and probably chose at Fort Huachuca. Yeah. And here is what I think is a big one. I really do think they are turning us into a surveillance state, just like what China is. Okay. They can't just outright take our Second Amendment rights away, but I think that having this happen in Utah was part of their plan. Whoever did this, right? Part of their plan was to have this happen in Utah, not California, which has really strict, gun laws and stuff, but Utah has one of the least restrictive laws. It's open carry, and on campus it's not open carry. By the way, it is concealed carry. Because imagine if they had gotten a foothold that it was some radical on the left angry about gun rights and transgender violence and all that kind of stuff. They would have been like, well, this is what happens in Utah when y'all allow people to be able to get guns. Utah was not a coincidence. Okay. So then why UVU? Well, it's one of the very few concealed carries at college campuses in the United States. Okay. And then maybe perhaps it was the shape of the courtyard when they're assessing this, right? We all think the shape of the courtyard was like a death bowl for Charlie anyways. But imagine this plan, right? People can't escape. There are only so many exits. And let's see what I had here. The theory on what could have changed. Well, look, so the people who knew that this was going to happen had to be there, right? A lot of people probably knew. I have a feeling more than just a couple people knew. And I can hear them being like, I will not attend if this is going to happen, right? And down in the bottom, I had listed, I put into the graph just to show you guys. This is pretty much the extensive list of college campuses allowing concealed carry in the United States. Yeah, it was a pentagram menorah. You're right. Yeah. And on top of that, I don't think that they mind that I don't think that they wanted it to go against Israel. I think, okay, the government of Israel, to me, does not represent the Jewish people. It is a state, it is a governing body. Whether or not they practice it themselves or whatever they claim to, I don't believe it. I think that there's something that very much separates the true Jewish people who are like the rest of us and would never condone this kind of violence on people, and the Baalist, like the Satan worshippers, the cabal, everything tied to EpiPen. I do think that the Jews fundamentally have it wrong ever since the New Testament, but I'm just saying I can see a difference between those with knowledge and those that do not have it. Yeah. So if you are Jewish in here, you are so welcome in here. So don't feel like, you're not accepted, because you certainly are. Okay. It is a problem. It's an absolute problem. It's not the truth. It's not the truth, and that's that. So we're talking about all the different coincidences and everything else that was found that day. If it was just supposed to be Charlie and they didn't have alternative options to run with, why all this? All right. So Bagley had testified about an empty holster in the courtyard. He had heard about the cartridge that was found on another rooftop. Hull gets on the stand and says, oh yeah, it's procedure for us to carry loaded weapons and then to to empty them when it's not used. That sounds retarded. I'm sorry. I use that word in the sense that that's ridiculous that you would even give us that line. Also, no officer wouldn't pick up. If that's the case, an officer is going to pick up his cartridge. You're not just going to leave it. And this was potentially an active shooter situation. Why are you clearing your gun? I have no idea. Okay. So then they found the Mauser. Whenever I was going in here to edit it, I don't know if y'all remember, I said Mauser the first time. And whenever I was on crunch time, I didn't know how to spell it tonight, so I just said M-O. There you go. Okay. Then Thalmina talks about a gun found on River Street, which we looked. I couldn't find a River Street. There's a neighborhood that I'll bring up in a second, but if it's it could be like an unmarked alleyway, something like that. But there's that gun. The library bus stop, there was a backpack with gloves and a jacket. Hull says there was a handgun found in the backpack. We don't know if that's the one at the bus stop or not. And remember, they send that off for DNA testing, and they call the lab, and they're like, hold the phone on that. Don't test it. It belongs to Charlie's security. So it's still a mystery whether it was the one at the library bus stop or if there's a second backpack. They're just not very clear. There was an agent Gonzalez, who had found a gun in a holster in the courtyard. And yeah, then I said he provided an explanation for the unspent cartridge. That's the one that Bagley had talked about. But who just loses guns? It is a Mauser, Mauser. I spelled it Mouser, like a mouse. I couldn't remember the spelling whenever I was re-editing it. Yeah, it is wild, isn't it, walking? I am a visual learner, so I think sometimes it helps. I know. Dora the Explorer. Yeah, I know. That's right. But like, yeah, okay. So like, just sit here with this. They find all of this, and then we find out whenever we went through the search warrants that they also found PVC pipe in a backpack at the house. Like, you can't tell me that there wasn't something else going on. And who loses a gun? Who plants a gun and then doesn't claim it? It's weird. That just doesn't happen. That doesn't happen, y'all. Okay, so this little box over here, this is Riverside. So when they said River Street, I tried to look for a River Street. I couldn't find one in Orem. So my best guess is maybe it was found over here in Riverside, which is, you know, a nice neighborhood, but I have a feeling it's probably like an unmarked alley. But I would really like to know more about the gun found on River Street. Yeah, who loses a gun, Casey? Who loses a gun and doesn't call lost and found and is like, hey, got my gun? Also, if they found the guns, why didn't they take the serial numbers and run them back and find who owned those guns? I think I would want to know that. Walking Wormwood says, I don't know much about guns. I personally really don't either. I do fire them, but I only know about revolvers, really. Would the 223 shell fit in a full AR? I don't know. Infinite amount of AR configurations that I don't know. Yeah, there are an infinite number of AR configurations, right? Yeah. We don't know. You can put a 223 in an AR? Okay. Okay, cool. So Colin did say it. But remember, it was an unspent shell, or it was an unspent cartridge. The gun on campus was found on the ground as another smoking gun. The cop acted like it was nothing, but it was out of the ordinary. After the shooting, that really would have caught their attention. Yeah, do you remember though, seeing the footage and you can see him look down, and he says on the stand that it was just a holster. So I don't know if that actually was the holster with the gun or if that was another holster. We don't know. Yeah, we don't know. And then this is just kind of a map, right, of where they find things. So start with me in the top left. So that is the library bus stop right there. And the people who testified to those, I have their pictures up. Okay, and then if you go to the bottom left, that would be to the courtyard. The red square that's connected to it, that would be where the sniper was located. Yeah, if I haven't said it before, I don't think that the sniper on the roof I don't think whatever was up there is not the murder weapon. I think a lot of people feel that way, but you know, we've been presented with what we've been presented with. Let's see. The computer science building over on the right bottom square where you can see the pictures, that is where they found the unspent 223 cartridge. And then where you have just above that Valmina and then the gun, that's where they found that gun. Question of Utah is circumstantial stuff all taken together. It says something quite logical. Yeah. Mr. Feelgood, thank you. I hope it feels tight because it's a lot of information. So visually, this will help you. So let's count it. 1, 2. If you count the one on the roof, that's 3. If you count the one they found, that's 4, because I'm telling you what, you can believe what you want, but I don't believe that that is the murder weapon. And then below that is the where they found the 223 cartridge. So I'm counting that as ammo firearms. That's 5. That doesn't happen, y'all. That doesn't happen. And no mention of, yeah, we found the serial numbers and we call them back. Like, even if somebody dropped their gun in a panic, I think it's worth following up. I'm reminded of the Vegas shooting map that Ian Carroll did. See, I haven't seen that too. Good. Stay anchored. Okay. So this was still in that presentation. In YUVU. Well, they only had 6 officers on duty for thousands of people. No magnetometers. Yeah, that's like what you walk through at the airport. Is a concealed carry campus. The proximity of the FBI, it was only 45 minutes. Like, I think they have a satellite office. They cleared out the ER at Timpanogos. That was that right there. Whenever I heard that is what made me think about this. Whenever I heard that they cleared out Timpanogos, I think most people's initial reaction was, okay, they didn't want witnesses to Charlie. But I also thought, oh my God, what if they cleared that ER because they were expecting something like this? Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, guys. And so then you see where, Charlie is down here in the pit and the sniper is where it says low C. That's where he would be. But look at the shape of this thing. Look at the shape of this courtyard. That is a death trap. And then this is just another view, right? So you'd have Charlie right under here, right under this little walkway here. And then you have the low C building. But look at all the other, if you want to say it's a gun, look at all the other vantage points where people could have been. I'm glad you found me. Coliseum, yeah. Yes, it's like the Coliseum. And also because, the number of firearms. And then, okay, do y'all remember this? There was, at the exact same time, a shooting in the Colorado high school. The first shot was at 12:21, and Charlie was injured injured. He was killed. Whatever this was happened at 12:23. Yeah. Hey, Netflix, if y'all are listening, I will help y'all put together a show. Yeah, Walking Wormwood, right? This is why these presentations are good. You remember, yeah. And not to mention it's in Colorado, right? We know who lives there. On top of that, Colorado has the highest incidence of school shootings, I think. I could be wrong, but it sure as hell does seem like that. So I don't think anybody died, but he did shoot and hurt some people, and I think he killed himself. And it says here the FBI was aware of this student's troubling posts online before the attack. You know what? I'm just that just now came up. I wonder if one of the stops was supposed to be in Colorado coming up. Yeah, it's hard to believe. I think it's hard for people to get on board that the government um, can be corrupt. And I certainly, any police officers or anybody working for an agency or the government, like I do not think you are all that way. It is, but you do have one bad apple ruins a whole bunch. But when you have a bunch of bad apples and you don't know which ones are sour, it turns into something like this. Yeah, lots of school shootings in Victor Mark State. Yep. So what was going on with this? It is not good that the FBI was aware of this. Was this just another patsy? You know? And this is what made me think maybe this was supposed to be a mass casualty event. Rotten, not sour. Exactly. I said sour because in my mind, like rotten, you can see from the outside. So I was thinking, like, okay, who looks good, but who is not good? Good observation, KZ. Okay, so what do y'all think about that before we move on to the next part? Any thoughts? Yeah, really bad hombres. I agree with you. We're own orcas. Oh, you're so welcome. Tammy is halfway to 50 subs. If anybody has not subbed Tammy, she is trying to get 50 so that she can start creating content. So if you don't mind giving her a sub, that would be awesome. Yeah, it is weird that the FBI didn't touch that. Why wouldn't? Yeah, and why would? Let's see. What was Justin saying? Sorry, Mr. Hang on. Let me look at what Justin said. Why would they plan that and not do it? Why half measure? I think. Well, here's the thing too. They probably realized they couldn't pull it off because exfil, getting people out, getting shooters out, is very difficult for something like that. And if you look at the way UVU is shaped, also getting somebody in without being noticed, very hard. Like maybe one person, right? I think most of us would agree that even just that one guy on the roof was kind of crazy that they didn't catch it, but he ran so fast that there's no way that they could get a lot of people in there and do that. Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Feelgood. It does get scary, but the more of us who talk about it, the safer it is. Yeah. The unspent cartridge. And you don't know who it raised red flags with. Like, think about these people have jobs. These people have jobs, and anybody wanting to speak up is going to lose their job. That is, we think it's not a hard ask. That is hard when you're supporting a family and you're thinking about what they can do to you, like, and keep you from working again. It is scary. Yeah. Well, look, all this research that I'm putting forth is just research that's out there. It's like, it's not privileged information. It's not like, I'm revealing anything that's private. Yeah. Okay. So, yeah, Bradley, they don't just eject around. That's the most stupid thing I've ever heard. Also, whenever it could be an active shooter situation, or if you're up there looking for someone in the first place, you don't disarm yourself. Why would anybody to find the cartridge on the roof means that you disarmed yourself on the roof. I'd really like to see. He talked about it as being like standard. It's called, he gave a term for it. Okay, so now tying back to this investigation and the witnesses that they have made unavailable, and was it on purpose? Yeah, corruption works together in that people don't ask questions. They fall in line with whatever story the people they align with are telling. And you know what? You also don't know. I think a lot of people who can't bring it up are bringing it up in other ways, like to Candace. I fully think that's why she has been able to get this far with it. Is that people with information are telling her, and I think that's the right thing to do. Okay. And this goes into my thought that in getting these boys to be patsies, they might have thrown the whole investigation on purpose to try to avoid consequences for those who were involved. And yeah, so let's just get into it, because the way they handled the investigation makes me think that it's so shitty, partially because they're sloppy. Another part is they didn't expect it to go like this. But other pieces of information make me think that they knew what was going on and they didn't want the right person being caught, because it wasn't Tyler. I do think Tyler was involved, and we'll get there based on what we found. But I think at a minimum, I'm looking at four, and it would be the 4 people in that car that was captured on Miss Noble's camera. I know. Prayers for me. I'm going to be okay. It'll be all right. Okay, so the 4 people in the car, whoever was driving, I'm going to say it was so the bald man, right? And then I think Spider-Man, who was on the roof, and then I think Lance and Tyler. I think the 4 of them were directly involved, like hands on the ground. Okay. And most of my crowd has been with me since I covered this, so I won't just go into detail. But this, to me, seems like the first witness they made unavailable. And the reason being that when somebody is in prison or is on trial for their own criminal matter, they don't have to testify in another like civil or criminal lawsuit, because we have rights against self-incrimination. So I do think George Zinn was there on purpose. And you guys know, of course, he's the one that like stood up and said, I shot him. And then they realized, no, he didn't. Okay. So they initially say in the affidavit, that's where this information comes from, are all the probable cause affidavits for search warrants. And this one was George Zinn specifically. So they say at first that like they take him down to the police department, right? But then all of a sudden I'm getting another story that says that they responded to the hospital where he was. And sure, he could have gotten hurt, whatever, but they never explained to us why he ended up at the hospital. I think that's really odd. And then the FBI and the SBI end up going up to interview him. And he says, no, I didn't do it. They want to look at his phone. Is there anything incriminating on your phone? He says, yes, there's CSAM on it. Y'all know what that is. They looked at it, confirmed that yes, there was, and then they say because the shooter investigation was because the shooter was still at large, they took his phone and they left. So they took his phone and they left, and they just made a referral to the sheriff's department. Yeah, it does help to really see the big picture. So George Zinn, sketchy individual. I do think he was there to distract. I think that was the purpose of him being there. And he either thought that they were going to kill him because he kept saying, shoot me. Or they already knew he was well aware of the CSAM on his phone. And when you're sitting there with like a criminal who has before, right, when they're planning this, who has compromising information, and you're like, okay, you're going to participate in this or else we're going to do this, then it would be logical that they're like, don't worry about it. We're not going to have you testify because we'll just throw you in jail. We'll bring a lawsuit against you, right? And then you don't have to testify. I know there's a stretch, but it is a way to do it. And so I don't think there's any surprise that he had the CSAM on his phone, and he goes into detail with the officers about what it is and what he likes and all that stuff. I mean, he is a weird individual, but I do think that's one way to, yeah. One of the detectives was the CSAM specialist. Yes. In fact, they showed raw footage of Charlie. Was it change in how we consume media? Yeah. Well, I think it was sending a message too. And also, they made it, part of me thinks they put a white t-shirt on him that day, and I don't think it went off as planned. I think it was supposed to be a little different, but they wanted it to be graphic, and I think the more graphic it is, the more we were going to feel sympathetic towards Erica, TPUSA. And in fact, the first thing I thought was, oh my God, this, like the wife and kids, it's horrible. It's horrible, horrible. Even when she was over the casket, that was the moment for a lot of people. For me, that wasn't, because I thought if this happened to my husband and I knew there was somebody out there who did it, I wouldn't care if they saw me draped over the casket, because I would want them to see how very real and permanent death is. And I would have been on a warpath to find them, right? So I thought, I've said this before, I thought she was going to go on like a vengeance tour and like find whoever did this. And instead she went on a damn book tour. I love it. Good. Bradley, I'm so glad. Yeah. Oh, Hull isn't there. You know who else isn't there? Bagley isn't there. And somehow I got it from all angles. Yeah. And that's another one of my data points in thinking that Erica knew is, and I could just, I mean, we all feel this, right? You wouldn't have him as your backup security. Hey, what's up? We have a celebrity in the chat, y'all. Hey, Corby, we talked about you. Everybody say hi to Corby. What was I thinking? Thanks, Corby. My ADHD is like gone berserk tonight. Yeah. Oh, okay. So we're talking about data points and why I say, yeah, I don't have any evidence that they knew, but the way that I'm a human being, you're human beings, like we are allowed to feel certain ways about things. And the way she reacted and has reacted ever since, including Victor Marks, I'm allowed to say, it's America. I'm allowed to say it. I think y'all were involved. Y'all knew. And maybe the extent of that involvement is just knowledge, but it's America. It's a free country. That's my opinion. Sorry. Maybe y'all should be better people. I think you're both psychopaths. Now I need some lip gloss. That got me fired up. Okay. moving on. All right, so that is one way to make a witness unavailable. Hey. And then, of course, we have Dr. G. His name is like, oh, I always want to call him Dr. Guadalajara. It's actually like Dr. Guajardo. I think it's Dr. Guajardo. Fired up lip gloss. I know. I'm about to put on my battle bun. I call him Dr. Valhalla because he ended up taking a job in a tiny little town called Valhalla, New York, after all this. And hang tight because, yes, this is a very long presentation, and no, I won't put it through tonight, but the Odinist, all with this like underground secret society cult movement, the way they brought up the number 33, the way Kash Patel is saying his farewell to Charlie on a global stage, and he knows that the man is Christian and says, see you in Valhalla. I find that either totally tone deaf, which they're all tone deaf, or just very inappropriate, right? Like, it's one thing to know about mythology and all that stuff, and it's great. Like, know all the things, talk about it. But whenever a man has died and he's obviously Christian, you don't say, see you in Valhalla. It's creepy. I call him, so, Dr. G, Dr. Valhalla, who now works in Valhalla, New York. Okay. A couple nights ago, I did a presentation on the search and the seizure of the Dodge Challenger. It's a Challenger. I'm sorry. So oddly staged. It is weird. I think that just going back to Eyes Wide Shut, like the very beginning of this presentation, when I said they make it so in our face that we can't see it because it's part of our environment. And I feel like they've been laughing at us the whole time, and only with the way they've handled this Charlie Kirk investigation, or lack thereof, and the things they've said, it's very obvious to me now. Okay, so a couple nights ago, I did a presentation on the Dodge Challenger and the search warrants that we found for those. And in my opinion, I think, and it could be the case that behind the scenes, this is what's going on, because a lot of the evidence that they pulled from the vehicle and having to do with the vehicle was not introduced at the preliminary hearing. So that does make me think that there could have been a constitutional issue behind the scenes with the defense. So if we're running with the theory that they want to pull this off, whoever it is, and get away with it, right? Not only making witnesses unavailable with their consent, if you can call it consent, I don't know, but an unconstitutional search and seizure in violation of your, constitutional rights. That is a way to do it, and it's really good bait, because if you're on the defense team and you see a search and seizure that is unconstitutional without even thinking about like what that evidence could be, you're going to challenge that, right? A criminal defense team is probably not, but these people are extremely, I don't want to, like, talented's not the word, seasoned. I don't know if y'all know this, but so Kathy Nestor, I like her a lot. And if anybody's wondering about the integrity of the defense team, I feel so much better with it now that I went through the preliminary briefs. They have done a bang up job on this. Kathy Nestor knows what she's doing. The other two main attorneys have been practicing for years. One of them was the criminal defense attorney for the Night Stalker in LA, which to me is the most terrifying serial killer there ever has been. He was the one that would break into homes in LA I mean, it's so populated, and kill people and like write with their blood, like, you know, all this satanic shit that he wrote. And the other one, so that guy's last name was Ramirez, I believe. And then the other attorney was the defense attorney for Lyle Mendez, you know, the Mendez brothers who were accused and convicted of killing their very wealthy parents. And I'm reading some of y'all's messages. Let me take a pause and read some of this stuff. Yeah, right. It's totally not sus at all, Tammy, that everybody connected to this case now has a new job. Yeah, it's horrible. Just charging the Patsy Claire's case, that is, even if they find Tyler innocent, the state or feds will not charge. Exactly. So, Bradley, you're making a very good point. That's kind of where I'm going with this. Even if just charging the Patsy, it will clear the case because there's a potential. What I'm saying is there's a potential that they made the evidence so bad that they knew it would never hold up. And that is one way to clear your Patsy too. And if he's found innocent, let's say that, are they going to pursue? I don't know. Oh, they wanted us to see it. Bradley, they wanted us to see it as an empathy, like a sympathy pool, because I really think they thought nobody. I can see them sitting around and saying nobody is going to question a widow, right? Because who would have? Like, yeah, like investigate, but obviously Erica wasn't there. She was not the one who did the crime, right? And it also shuts other people down because who was the first one who came out and said, like, could Erica have known? Like, everybody was thinking it. Nobody wanted to say it. Nobody wanted to be the first one. You don't want to be that person. Odinists, in my opinion, began as far way back as began as a way for white supremacists to meet up and communicate. Yeah, in prison. And it became a white thing outside. Guards, politicians. I think there are a lot of Odinists. I'll call them that as a catch-all phrase. Oh, it's been going on for a very long time. Yeah. And the problem is that it's like nobody was socialized. Like Erica doesn't seem to be socialized. Neither do the two guys, Blake Neff and Andrew Colbert, don't seem to. The things that they say, it's just like they can't read a room. They can't read the temperature, and I think that is because they lack empathy. They don't understand it, so they don't understand what people are feeling, like the spiritual aspect of it that they just can't make up for. They can pull all the psychology pulls that they want. I mean, Victor Marx is the same way. Let's see. I'll let scroll back up. See what y'all are saying. See, but I don't think they want it out yet. Oh, I'll go watch too. No. Okay. So, more about this. Okay, so was this search and seizure of the vehicle, was it unconstitutional? If I were the defense team, I would say I would be challenging it on that. And what that does is if someone else's DNA was found on the steering wheel and the handles, right? Because they took those DNA swabs. We have never gotten the results back. They have stopped talking about that altogether. Okay. What that does is it throws out that evidence, right? And it would be bait for a defense team. This is all just hypothetical. Maybe it didn't happen that way, but Okay, so we see, obviously they are searching the vehicle. You have to have a search warrant for that, which we'll go over in just a second. This was on the 12th, and this was his car. It is parked at his parents' house. Right? They're doing this. So now they're seizing it. Okay, so we'll just quickly go back over these two search warrants. There were two search warrants related to the vehicle. All right. The first one was submitted to the judge on the morning of the 12th. Okay. They submitted that in the affidavit right before 10 a.m. And of course, the judge signs it by 10:30. All right. Why is this relevant? Because at 8 a.m., they had started searching the boy's apartment, and they knew that the vehicle wasn't there. They knew it was at his parents' house, right? This search warrant, though, only has a license plate number. It doesn't have a VIN number, which is inappropriate, and they absolutely would have had access to the VIN number at this point. Also, they write it saying that the vehicle is in St. George, and that is where the boy's apartment is, okay? But the car is at his parents' house in Washington. Washington is like the next town over. It's Washington County, you guys, but two different towns, okay? So judge signs it. They say, we think we know that we have probable cause to believe it's in St. George. Well, it's not. Okay, so when y'all go over to the Tyler's parents' house at 4, clearly it is not in St. George. And at that point, you are able to get a VIN number. Go figure, right? They give a list of the inventory of what they took out of the car, but they never included the car itself. If you're seizing something, you have to list it. You missed the freaking car. Okay. So 2 days later, they file an updated search warrant because now they have the vehicle in their possession in Orem, right? And at this point, that's when they go ahead and they include a VIN number because magically they have it, right? Well, clearly because they have the car. It's on the inside of the door panel. But what is also odd is that the officer who executed the warrant, he said that all of the property was taken by him under warrant on both of these on 9/14. We know that's not true because the vehicle and the inventory list, that was all done on the 12th. I just don't understand how a state agency can get this wrong, or the feds. So to me, this doesn't look like a mistake. This looks like a mistake on purpose. Like, did you guys want the defense to say, okay, no, illegal search and seizure? Because whenever y'all took swabs of the steering wheel and the handles, whose DNA was going to be on that? Okay, let me see what y'all are saying. Yeah, by the way, they did do swabs of that stuff, and we have not heard. I'm scrolling back up. Yeah. See you in Valhalla is heretical. I agree. It's so inappropriate for that moment. Erica is throwing up devil horns at his funeral. Yeah, somehow. Never seen the cable guy. Yeah. Yeah, thank you, Walking Worm Food. I appreciate it. he says he's not Christian, but the way they mock Christians is abhorrent. And I agree with you. It's horrible. And that's why although I think the Jews have it wrong, the fact that, that country uses that faith as a shield to do horrible things to human beings, I can sympathize with that. So if on purpose they bottle the case botch the case, who are they going to blame this all on? They might just say they don't have any leads. They don't know. And it's probably going to be, if he walks free from this, there will be a number of people who will forever be like, well, it was him. They just botched it, just like OJ, right? Mr. Feelgood is convinced that he was sacrificed. I think we all are I think he was sacrificed too. I think it was more than just a sacrifice. I think that his death benefited a lot of people, because if you think about, if it's true that they were trafficking weapons using TPUSA planes, and he had also asked for a Doge audit the week before because he's seeing so much money coming in and out, and he's not knowing where it's going or coming from. And on top of that, his stance on pulling out of, the pro-Israel movement, he was getting backlash. They had a bunch of donors pull out, right? So he's like, where is all this money coming from? He was probably going to spill, to be honest with you. And think about how many different players we have in this. We have Mima, who potentially has a role in this, right? Because those planes of hers were going to our greatest ally right after meeting up with TPUSA planes. And they wouldn't even stay more than 12 hours. It was a touchdown comeback, right? There are millions of dollars. I mean, insane amount. And when you think about why, you have to look at it religiously. And I'm sorry for anybody who is not religious, but I guess I'm not sorry. I guess it's an explanation, right? That country over there is hell-bent on dominating the Middle East and the West Bank. And it is because they don't accept Jesus Christ as the Messiah, right? And they are trying to usher in the Messiah. However, I think I think that they are using Jewish concepts as their shield, but like as their front, right? But I do not think that every Jewish person is like that. I think this government that's out of control absolutely is. And they have some of the strictest gun laws in the world, and that is why they need firearms. Bradley, thank you so much. Oh, good, Justin. I'm so glad y'all are enjoying it. Thank you for that feedback, because I know it's a lot. It's a lot for me, and I know the material, so I often wonder if it's being, internalized. Oh, yeah. No. Charlie didn't hate Candace. There's no way. What they're going to do next, and we did a presentation on this, like on narcissism on Darvo, and they're probably about to assassinate his character and say like he was an evil person, and he's not here to speak up for himself. So yeah, Artifacts was the former camera guy. You can trust him. Walking Warm Food. He is he's legit. And there are very few people. You'd be surprised who's on my list of distrusted people. Oh yeah. Yeah. I'm just reading through y'all's comments if y'all are just joining. If you're just joining, you're going to want to go back to the very beginning at some point. Got mustard in your phone? On your phone. That sounds delicious, Kathy. This is your late night action. Well, I'm glad to give it to you. Rabid, welcome in. I knew something. Yeah. So Casey says that her father passed away last year. I am very sorry for your loss. It's rough when your parents dies, because it does feel like part of you, it dies. Like it is a weird thing. She says, when I saw Erica over the coffin, instantly I knew something was gross about this. The sparkling pants and the fireworks confirmed it. So a lot of people initially felt weird about the coffin thing, and it's so funny because that was not my moment. It was when she started speaking, and when she went out, the glittering pantsuit, and when she was like, I forgive him. Oh, shut the fuck up. Are you serious? That was okay. And then she goes on a book tour, and yeah, sure is grieving differently. And then whenever she was on the podcast, not much long after, and it was like when that recorded call, like Zoom call, leaked. That was 6 days later, and they were talking about the merch. Yeah, they want the land and control. I'll make sense. They're running these shady operations. I don't know how much Charlie knew. I don't know. I think he found out. I don't think that he condoned it. I don't think he gave the green light. Yeah. Yeah, there have been people criticizing artifacts lately. So you just should know that there are ops within ops within ops, and people that you think are legit over there are not. So just take it with a grain of salt. And just keep an open mind, but don't trust anybody. Yeah, search warrants are ridiculous for a death penalty case. Bradley, I don't know if you were in the chat last night. I ended up going, I think, back over some of the. I think you've been around for the aggravated murder series. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, Halloween is going to be brutal. Oh, you're right. Mr. Feelgood, no, listen, you don't have to say you're sorry for people disagreeing. If you think Charlie had, a lot of us have asked the same question. It's fine. It really is fine. In fact, I would say whatever questions you have, tease them out, because yeah, I mean, we'd be doing the same thing if we're like, no, you can't think that, or, we're not them. A lot of people have the same question. Okay. So let's get back to it. We are 2 hours and 40 minutes in. This was a long presentation. This is true. Lord No Kids, what's up? Welcome in. You think he tried to use Israel to gain support? Yeah. It's just, I think that I think he was like the rest of us, and up until a point, we've been beaten over the head with Judeo-Christian ideas, but it's not Judeo-Christian, y'all. It's Christian. And I think that it changed whenever he went over to see it and he saw it. I don't know what was going on. Yeah. Okay. This is the part I want to go over because this is newer and we did kind of hit it last night, but I made a post on this last night. Soiled in a lot of ways. Being on tour nonstop can this count? Can we trust it? Yeah. Oh yeah, okay. I just saw that today, Lord. Lord, no kids. I appreciate it. I'll definitely get back to you probably this weekend. I'm still working. Well, I will be working as a full-time lawyer forever. I don't intend to ever quit my job. So, yeah, I think that was eye-opening with what's going on in Gaza. When it first happened, I was on the side of Israel because I was like, listen, they have to defend themselves. But now looking back in retrospect, I think that October 7th was an inside job as an excuse to move forward. And the slaughtering of people, it's a genocide. And the irony of that just tells me that they are not, that whomever is doing it, the government over there, is not, they're not real Jews. I just want to say that. Like, first of all, a country, a government is not a religion in the first place, but they've had us all, I mean, they've infiltrated Christianity in the United States. Yeah. Okay, let me go take a really quick, everybody can break for a bio break. I'll be back in 2 minutes, okay? Less than 2 minutes. Y'all chat amongst yourselves. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. I'm gonna see what y'all were talking about. And yeah, I put on a very extra large t-shirt in lieu of my sweatshirt because it was getting hot in here. But we're still casual tonight, so let me see what y'all been yapping about. Oh, you're in Sinai when it happened? Oh, that's crazy. Yeah, Justin is in blue. We back the blue. We really do. Uh, I know. It's Bonnie. It's overwhelming, is what it is. It's so overwhelming. There's so much information, and it's all tied. It's just it's hard to look at, but at the same time, you gotta encourage people to start looking at this stuff. I forgive him. Okay, you're nuts. You're fake. You're fake and gay. Both of those, literally, I think. But um, that was another one of those. Be so. The other thing is like she wants everyone to think she's perfect, and the people who have no empathy and who are not like spiritual and they're not real people think the only way they're gonna like capture um, our affinity for them is to be perfect. So she lies. She's lied about everything. She lied about dating guys. She there's a whole list of things she lied about, but about things that are totally normal. Like who cares if you dated guys before? Why are you lying about that? Um, but it was like another moment to push this like fake piousness on people. Like if you can't forgive somebody who murdered your husband within like just a couple days, then you must not be good enough. Your relationship with God needs some work. No, I didn't like that. Who forgives that easily? Nobody. She was too happy. She was too happy, too straight faced. I don't believe it. And look, I'm somebody who I don't cry in public. It's very like difficult for me. Even in those situations, I just don't show um, emotion publicly very well at all. But I would certainly be at home behind closed doors for months, looking like shit. To me, that says that's a woman who never loved her husband. TXs? Oh, good, Bradley. I'm glad you're hooked. You're hooked. Oh, y'all, we have another podcaster in the house. Welcome in, dude. Adam, the real one, podcast underscore at. Y'all should all sub to him too. He's got some good stuff. You are going to have to start over from the beginning, my friend. You showed up at a really good time, but holy cow, have we been through a lot of stuff tonight. This one was packed. Attorneys make excellent YouTubers. I appreciate that. Sometimes we can be dry and boring. But I do love to teach people. Yeah, about things that I know and care about. And I like it. I like to take the mystery away from, like, I don't know. It's the legal proceedings are difficult to understand if it's not explained to you in an easy way, but there's no reason it should be that difficult for someone to sit down and explain it. We just use a bunch of fancy words that intimidate people, but it's basic stuff. Oh, thank you. Yeah, Mr. Feelgood, my throat does feel better. KZ saved me from the crappy Ricola. She was researching how other widows react. Yeah. Okay, I'm almost down to bio break. Yeah, start using that. I pulled that from somebody else, and I like it instead of being like, I need to go pee, guys. Okay. Okay. So let's jump back into this. Whomever was with me with the group the past night or two, you will know about how I transposed all of the. Let me just give you. I feel like some of you guys could do a whole mock-up presentation of me and what I've told you guys because I've said it so many times. So just y'all take a break for a second. All right. What I was interested in was getting one long narrative provided by law enforcement, right? Like, what are they saying? What are they saying happened? And you can find that in a search warrant because the officer has to draft an affidavit of probable cause to search something, right? So I had access to a bunch of search warrants. I got them off of a Substack, and I think it was the same one that Danks was referring to earlier. I don't know, but I just stumbled upon them. I don't know how I didn't before. And so what I did was I pulled all the search warrants, and then I just went to the probable cause sections. I pulled all that out. And of course, sometimes the information overlaps. So I just took that out. And what I did was I presented you guys with, okay, this is the narrative of a collective narrative, right? And in doing that, I think it was live when we were really going over it together that the first night I just couldn't, I didn't have time in the moment to sit there and think about the two different narratives that we got about the Nest camera. But then last night I did. And last night after we got off of a live, I made a post about it. This is crazy. This is crazy. You want to talk about a cover up? I think that this could be a big one. Put a pin in this one. Okay. So we all know about Miss Noble. It was her nest cam. Now let me take you there. Okay. Visualize it. Charlie dies on the 10th. Okay. Then it's around noon, right? So you got to go the rest of the day. It's still the 10th. And then when you hit midnight, it's technically the 11th. All right. It was shortly after midnight that we saw footage from a Nest doorbell camera in the neighborhood close to UVU where they found the gun. All right. So at the preliminary hearing, Agent Hull testified to this, and they showed it, and he said that instead of it wasn't time-lapsed, you guys. It was sliced. It was, I mean, he even said it, that he didn't make the video, and this would be the first time during the preliminary hearing that they submitted something that was just not the raw footage. He said it was clipped to show whatever. I don't know if y'all saw it, but I couldn't even see the one person get out of the car. And he says initially, when they say what does this show? It shows a Dodge Challenger parked outside the house, and an individual gets out and walks that direction. And what it's supposed to be is Tyler going back to look for his gun. That's what it's supposed to be. Kathy Nestor gets on and cross-examines him and says, didn't Miss Noble tell you that there were 4 individuals in this car and one of them was a bald man? And he says, yes. And she says, well, that's not what you said earlier. So, I mean, already that's a problem for me. Okay, so that's what happened at the preliminary hearing. Let's look at what was in the actual narrative. Okay, so following the shooting, detectives canvassed homes. So they're on foot. They're going door to door, not selling Girl Scout cookies, but they're looking for surveillance footage, right? And they go to the home of Miss Noble. I made sure that these 2 different instances were of the same house. It is. Okay. They say in the first one, the video footage depicts a vehicle matching the description of the Dodge Challenger. The footage shows the vehicle parked at approximately, it would be 12:23 a.m., okay? And that it remains there until about 1:20. During this time, an individual is seen getting out of the vehicle and walking from the area before the person returns, gets in the car, and leaves. How interesting, though, that if this is what they're writing in their probable cause, and we know that the video showed 4 people, why didn't they include that in their affidavit? Why at this point do they even say there's an individual? If you're going to say there's an individual, why didn't you say 4? All right. So then we have someone else who writes in a probable cause affidavit. According to this FBI agent, the homeowner, Miss Noble, well, I think it was her husband, contacted police. So already there's 2 different narratives. On one, they're canvassing. They're going around doorbell to doorbell. You want to buy my Girl Scout cookies? On the other end, we have somebody calling the FBI, right? 2 different things. All right. They contacted the police, right? And advised that they had captured a video on the Nest camera. And who knows who said it was a Dodge Challenger. We don't know if it was Miss Noble or if it was the officer who was writing this, because that's very specific. I wouldn't know in the dark. I could say it looks like a Dodge Charger. I tried to call this a Dodge Charger the whole time. Okay, now look at the time that they say. The vehicle initially parked at 12:47. Now, what they meant to do here, this is a typo. It should have been 0:47, because 12:47 military time, you guys, is noon. It's noon 47. It should have been 00:47. Okay, and it left at 1:35. Huh. Isn't that interesting? Why would the time frame shift? Why would the time frame shift? Right? Okay. So this is what I think. All right. Let me pull up. Well, y'all just listen to me. Don't read this slide because it's going to confuse you. Just let me read it to you, okay? And this was, I was in a rush for time, so I copied and pasted essentially what I wrote on an X last night. This is what I think it was. I think the car was actually in the neighborhood from 12:47 to 1:35. So the second narrative that we heard. Because whoever was in the vehicle had to have that interaction with Officer Goforth at the intersection of UVU. Do y'all remember that? Just shortly before, there was footage of what looked like the car was trying to turn right onto, like, it wasn't Campus Drive. They were coming off of Campus Drive, I think. But they were trying to turn into the school, is what it looked like. And apparently, that's when this Officer Goforth had an interaction. I had a hard time seeing an officer down there. But hey, whatever. Okay. But if this were a planted thing, they had to get the car at the intersection of UVU on surveillance, right? To fit the narrative that he was going back to retrieve the gun. Like, they needed proof of his car being in the vicinity to go get the gun, to match the text messages, all right? So I'm saying here, if I have reason to believe that either Agent Hull or Goforth, this is the problem with hearsay at this preliminary hearing, because we don't have Officer Goforth there to testify as to what he actually said. But one of them must have lied. One of them had to lie by omission, because we know that there were 4 people in that car. Okay. And Hull is on the stand, and he says that what Goforth said is that he had believed he had interacted with Tyler Robinson. Okay. Did you forget to omit that, like, there were other people in the car? There were 3 other guys. And yes, I have questioned, and like, who Miss Noble is. I've gone back and forth. At this point, I think she's legit, because I think this was a monkey wrench in the whole thing. If she were part of it, they would never have had her say 4 people. Okay. They also had to have Tyler's car in the vicinity of the area, because remember, they got a search warrant for the dash cam in his car, and I guarantee it was recording it being there. But we haven't heard any information about that. That information has not come back. Exactly why I was saying the search and seizure of the stuff in the car, I think they could have messed it up on purpose. Okay. Also, they needed Tyler's phone to be pinging from a nearby cell tower, right? And I will tell you, I should tell you, the 4 people that I think were in the car were Spider-Man, the guy on the roof. I think it was Lance, and I think Tyler was in the car too, and then whoever the bald man is. I'm not going to say one way or the other who it was. I mean, we all have our conclusions about who it was. I don't know. I haven't gotten there yet. So it is interesting if you know who the bald man is that people are wondering about. But anyways, they had to have Tyler's phone pinging from a nearby cell tower. Okay. So they also needed Tyler's phone to have a saved GPS route. And they did. It started at 137-ish, starting from that area, going back to St. George. Are y'all tracking? Yeah. Mr. Clean, Neffy Pants. Sneffy. Mr. Sneffy. Okay. So, I don't think they intended these guys ever being recorded on the doorbell cam. I think the surveillance video from UVU showing that car was enough. And I think that's why they went on foot, to canvass the area to see what they had. Like, oh crap. And why did they oh crap it? Because I don't think that the 4 guys in the car even thought about being caught on a doorbell cam. If they had it, they wouldn't have gotten out of the car. And I bet all 4 of them did. We don't know. We just know that she saw 4 people. And if this was supposed to fit the narrative, it should have only been 1, right? Allegedly Tyler. This is why I don't think that I think this was the monkey wrench. They didn't intend for the doorbell camera to be picked up. And if we're going with this idea that we have multiple agencies and people in on it, if they said something to them, they're like, oh yeah, we all got out and walked down to that. We all got out and walked. And they would have been like, what? You did what? You idiots. And then they were like, okay, let's go see if we can find the footage. All right. And then they found it. So I think when they found it, all right, let's go back. They flubbed this time up. I don't think this is the real time. I think is that what I thought? Hang on. Yeah. Because I think that the bottom one was the real time. And I think that the nobles called it in. Probably, who knows if it was before or after they collected this evidence. Who knows if they called this in, the bottom one in, before the detectives went and found the footage. And I think that is a very big possibility. Let me see. All right. Yeah, so I said here, so whoever reported the one that from the canvassing changed the time and reported only one person getting out of the car. Because they couldn't have, if you go back to this is the top one is very specific, okay? The top one says one individual is getting out of the car. They're lying. Whoever is writing this has lied. Okay. They were left with a bit. So yeah, and this is where I say, I think what happened was after they called the FBI or sorry, the police to report the video, Hull on the stand says that they got a tip. So they went to go speak with Miss Noble. Yeah. And, he says a person. And he didn't freely give up the information about 4. So I think what happened was they were left with a video that they never intended on bringing up at the preliminary or never intended to even have in the first place. And that is why they clipped out parts and stitched it together. Because here's the thing. They got GPS data from the phone that had a saved Google Maps. And the route started at 1:33 a.m., which would have been in that neighborhood. And it was going to the apartment. So they needed the time to match. And it does match. Look, it does match the, oops. Where was that? Did I mess up? Oh, I went the wrong direction. Sorry, y'all. Okay. Yeah. So the GPS information does match what seems to be a real tip. And you notice that the real tip does not, if the nobles made this tip at the bottom, whoever wrote this in the probable cause affidavit left out the fact that there were 4 people. So I do think that possibly the real tip at the bottom came in because the time matches up to the GPS. I just don't think that they ever intended there to be Nest video camera footage, right? And so I think whenever they went to talk, somebody flubbed up they intentionally said it was earlier and that it was only one person. I know it's a little difficult to wrap your head around, but just kind of let that sink in for a little bit. Okay. So who were the 4 people in the car? And in this hypothetical, we've got Lance, Tyler, Spider-Man, one bald guy. Who out of this group killed Charlie Kirk? 0, in my opinion. Nobody here was responsible. We've got a decoy boy on the roof, Spider-Man, Lance and Tyler, and one bald guy. All right. And I think as they get out of the car, right, they've got to have Tyler's cell phone pinging, right? It would make sense if Lance and Tyler were together sending those text messages that sound ridiculous. It could be that those texts got planted onto the phone, right? It could be that. It could also be if they are known patsies and they knew they were going to be patsies, right? That they had to have this communication going back and forth. They needed his phone to be pinging from the spot where they had placed a rifle. And I mean, why did everybody get out? It was dark. Maybe he didn't want to go alone, or they needed to be together to coordinate the text. Maybe they were planting something else or searching for something that was dropped whenever Spider-Man ran. Or this was the other thing I thought of. Maybe this didn't go as planned and they needed to talk about how the next 24 hours were going to roll out, what was going to happen. And that would take 4 people. I could see 4 people being in on that. The patsies, all of them, and one bald man. So they needed to coordinate how this was going to go. And absolutely, this would fit because the next day, whenever Tyler ends up going to his parents' house, his mom says he was suicidal. And that totally tracks with this. I do believe that. And it would also make sense that if Tyler knew he was going to be a patsy, that it was Lance driving Tyler's car all day. And who knows, it could have been Lance and Tyler in the car. Because you notice we haven't had any info from the dash cam download. They haven't had, or the pinging cell phone towers. They haven't given us the video from the Quick Quack, the car wash that they said that they read the plate at. And they also haven't given us, car wash isn't free. Where is the payment? Where's the receipt information? If you were putting someone on trial for murder, I'm pretty sure you would show that. Okay. And if y'all didn't know, let me see if I put the other GPS stuff in here. I don't think I did. Okay. So there was also a Google Maps GPS map that was saved in his phone that showed from the mall. There's a mall in the area to the car wash. And it was 23 minutes after the shooting. And then they go to the car wash. But they didn't ask for mall parking lot surveillance camera. Hello? Because they didn't want it. They didn't want it. To me, in my mind, the mall parking lot, they didn't want that information. there were also so many people in this car. Imagine getting that DNA back on the handles, on all that stuff, on the steering wheel. This is why. Oh, also the dash cam stuff. This is why I think that they might have done an illegal search and seizure, was to get this tossed out. Because if it comes out that Baldy's DNA is on the steering wheel or the handles, they're fucked. You know, they're fucked because their narrative is that it was a lone gunman. Remember that. They are trying to pin this on one person. Now, what were they doing in the mall parking lot? It's about 7 minutes from campus. I could surely imagine that maybe they picked up Spider-Man. That wouldn't be that far-fetched. But they didn't ask for anything. They didn't ask for it because they'd have to turn it over. Okay, what do y'all think about that? Yeah, I do think it was. Casey, I agree with you. I think that's who it was. You know, because he won't say where he was that night. How hard is it to say that you were in Orem, and why would that be a bad thing? That's what's weird to me. That's what's weird to me. Like, if it were true that you stayed in Orem, which he did clearly stay in Orem, if this is true, I think they went to pick up Spidey Boy. Maybe Spidey Boy was with them all day long. You never know. They picked up Baldy, and they all went where they could talk, but at the same time, they had to have that cell phone pinging, right? So why not walk and talk about how they were going to do this? It really freaks me out, actually. Yeah, it is uncomfortable to think about. This is why I think they didn't anticipate the Ring doorbell footage. I think that is the whole monkey wrench in this thing, is because if they had anticipated that, they would not have gotten out of the car. I actually don't think whoever planned this, wanted that car in the neighborhood on camera. I think they fucked up, and they went and parked so that the car data, when they pulled the dash cam, would be in the neighborhood. And they had to have the phone on them too. They had to have the car there. That's it. They had to have the car there. If they had anticipated, if they had wanted that car to be on camera, they wouldn't have gotten out, or they would have let whoever looked like Tyler get out. Yeah, it just makes no sense. And so that's why I think that the call from the Nobles to the police department about having security camera footage, and then they gave the real timestamps, and they didn't say anything about who was there, probably triggered whoever put this together to go canvass the neighborhood, find it, and then say, oh, it shows one person getting out of the car, an individual getting out of the car, and they used a different timestamp. That's it. I mean, they lied. I don't think it was the Nobles who lied. I really don't. Yeah. because it matches up with the GPS data that they wanted. That was part of the plan too. And of course, with that, they're trying to nail this on Tyler. So they know that they're trying to get ahead of this Nest Cam footage coming out. So they present it in a way that they can by slicing and dicing. Yeah. Yeah, the texts do need metadata inspected. Well, it's interesting that they haven't come out with it yet. You know who they also haven't had the pinging cell phone tower stuff on is Lance. And guess what? Lance was allegedly home all day. Really? Okay, so he could have been in that car. And forever I thought it was just Lance. But, remember, these guys are both patsies. There's no reason why Tyler couldn't have been in that car too. And so let's go through the last part of this, you guys. And I had done this before. This was a chronology of Lance, relevant notes, and Tyler. Now some of this has kind of changed since what I found last night. But with Lance, just forget it. He doesn't have an alibi. He says he's didn't have work. He's at home all day, right? Well, he doesn't even say he's at home. On the far right, I have Tyler. And for the longest time, I was trying to get like, how could, Tyler have left early? Does he have an alibi? But we haven't heard anything about, I thought maybe he went to work that day, nothing. And I'm also not saying that, the video footage of him on whoever it is on campus, I do think that's two different guys. But I think we need to listen to what Lance said. Lance said, the first couple, I can't tell. That's not him. And then the last few, he says, yeah, that looks like him. So it very well could have been Tyler on campus at some point. Candace had said that he was playing Wordle at 11:28 on his phone. Tyler was, which is fine. It doesn't mean that he wasn't in the car, Let me see. And I had done, let's see, suspect one. All the stuff in the middle is just about what they presented as their timeline at the preliminary. I did note that 11:53, right? They have the footage of Tyler standing there, and it looks like he had sent a text, but they didn't show us any information about a text being sent at that time. Another thing I want to point out is that at 12:17, Hull says that he rolls over the railing onto the top of the Losi building. I will tell you that from the probable cause affidavits, it's apparently not a railing. It is a cement wall. Who knows? Okay. So let's talk about Penguich. It is possible that if the steakhouse is true, if he did go to the steakhouse, it is true that he still could have made it back to Orem in time for all of this. I don't know whether or not I have to wait. I need to see more information about the Penguich receipts. Like, I don't want to have confirmation bias. But to me, it doesn't really shift the timeline at all of what I'm thinking, because, it just doesn't, he could still have made it back is what I'm saying. He would have had to have been speeding. Yeah. I think that they were into some crap. I think Lance was into some stuff. I think he's not well. Y'all have heard me say it before. I do think he has schizophrenia, but I think that the mother, it's Lance's mom. We won't go into that tonight because we already did last night. Oh, yeah, that's right. Hang on. Let me see where it's at. Oh, yeah, okay. So, y'all remember Lance saying that he got that text at 11? That was the first time he heard from Tyler that day? Well, also, Agent Brian Davis said that the first text message was at 11 that day. That can't be true because at 4:33, this is the screenshot this is the picture they showed us. If you zoom in, you can see a text at 4:33 from Tyler to Lance saying, "Mwah, I love you." But Agent Davis doesn't acknowledge this, even though it's on the effing picture that they show. Also, Lance doesn't say it. Oh, hell yeah, it would be an eclipse. Well, also, you know what I was thinking about the penguin thing? It could be that maybe Tyler was like, dude, I'm being used as a patsy. Maybe he had to come into Jesus moment and he was like, I got to get an alibi. I have to get an alibi. I need to get as far away from here as possible, but I already told them I would participate in this, so I need to be able to get back. Where can I go for an alibi? And that's just me thinking, like, if I were him and I was like, oh my goodness, that's what I would have done. Something like that. Let's see. What did I say? Right. So I say here, so he settles his check by 10. That's when they closed. If he was going the speed limit, he could have made it back to Orem by 1. 12:30 of speeding. So, I mean, it is possible. But he would have had to pick up 3 people. At what point does he pick up 3 people? Let me see if there's anything else relevant. This is whenever I was sketching out, because there is also the alternative. I mapped all this out because it is possible that Tyler could have made it home by midnight, but like, where is he and where is his car? Here's the thing. We haven't heard of an alibi for Tyler that day. Nobody has said where he was. That's the thing. That really makes me think that he was one of the 4 people. And I just don't think you could make him a patsy without telling him, right? Here's another thing about the patsies. Apparently, whenever they put them through some kind of indoctrination or whatever to become a patsy, sometimes they think that they're working for a different group or a different cause than what they're actually used for. It could also be true that Tyler didn't realize what deep crap he was in until it was already pretty rough. Okay. Let's see. All right. So we've been going for 3.5 hours. So I think I'm going to do a part 2 to this instead, because this is where we would break for the evidence issues. And we've all kind of seen it. Let me see if I can let me look for a second. Y'all chat amongst yourselves. Let me see if I could do it quickly without. You know what? We might be able to get through some of this. Hang tight. I could probably do this pretty quickly. Okay. Yeah, let's do this. I'm going to do it real quick since we're all here. All right, let me take this off the stage. Yeah. I'm sure they can. I'm sure they can. I think the problem is there's probably an ongoing fight. I bet his mother is wanting to throw everybody else under the bus too, but it could be that he was also involved in some way. So it could be that that's why we're not hearing all of it. But I can tell you this, I do not think that anybody in that car killed Charlie. Let's see if I can upload some of this stuff. Yeah, agree with you. Let's upload. And we went through this last night, but we can breeze through this real quick. This won't take long. Mm-hmm. Was it really cool? Okay. So, yeah, let's just quickly go over this. I brought this up last night. So, we talked about the narratives. So, Discord comes out. Let me just jump to this. So, this is the day, the 10th is when Charlie died. On Friday, the 12th, Discord gives a news release saying that he had not planned this on Discord. What I find interesting, though, is that the search warrant for Discord was not executed until Saturday. So if Tyler turned himself in on, it would have been, you go to the 11th, right? So scoot all the way up to the 11th in the PM hours around 7, 8. That's when he ends up going to the police department with his parents, right? So really, he's not arrested until early Friday morning. So I'm really curious as to how Discord got wind of this. What I find odd is that they didn't do the search warrant until Saturday, but it could just be the Discord got there on it early and they still wanted to do their due diligence and issue one. Okay, so these are also the pieces of clothing that we have never found. The blue colored hat, the black American flag t-shirt with an eagle, and the dark colored backpack. It is interesting that Agent Hull here on the stand says that when he's walking through here, that he has a blue backpack. He doesn't say dark colored, which I thought was dark colored. And that is what the affidavit says. Instead, he's already said it's a blue backpack. And wouldn't you know it, that a blue backpack was located at the guy's apartment. This is also when they found what what they said was bomb making material. This is another one of those weird narratives. And it's the Raspberry Pi thing that is used to activate or set off explosive devices. And of course, he had wire cutters, hammers, and other tools. Wait, the bag and surrounding area? Okay. Also had wire cutters, hammers, and other tools. They, on the inventory list, did not list any of this stuff. They did not list any of this from being taken from the house, especially if there are wire cutters, hammers, and other tools. He's an electrician, you guys. So you're going to say that, but you're not going to like take the inventory of it. It's just like the damn car. Okay, let me show you this. Right? This is what they took, the personal property that they took from the boys' apartment. And you can see, go down to backpack. That's all they say. They don't say backpack and it's, what's contained in it. They certainly don't talk about the wire cutters or anything like that. They also, I've already said it's weird that they said that they collected buccal swabs of Lance and both Tyler's parents at the apartment. So that's weird. Were all three of them there during this executed search warrant? Someone had given Lance a ride back from the sheriff's department the night before to his apartment. Why would you allow someone who lived with the suspect to go back to the house to have the opportunity to destroy evidence if this is a real investigation? They did. They took 6 pairs of jeans. Oh, they took more than that. They took 6 pairs of jeans, Old Navy and Levi's jeans. So they took at least 8. They didn't. I was really upset about them not saying what variation of the Remington 30-06 cartridges. I've gone over this so many times. It makes me so mad. Remington sells 17 different varieties. If you haven't committed that to memory yet, are you even an Orca Pod member? Some of them have been discontinued, but there are 17 different varieties. You're thinking if you are collecting them and using them in a murder case, you might want to list the variations, like which kind you got, right? Also, they just say 2 boxes of cartridges. They don't count them. They don't say anything. I had to do my own research and found out that they sell them in boxes of 20. So would have been really nice, to have a count. And then they just say boxes of ammo. I try to group these in similar items. Boxes of ammo. What does that even mean? What does that even mean? Boxes of what kind of ammo? Let's see. What else was on here? Okay. So the dash cam footage was from the car, but it and the first 7 or 8 items listed were sent off to the computer forensics lab for info. We haven't heard back on any of that. On top of that, there was another computer tower in the house, in the apartment. They took it, but they did not send it off. They also listed a stick with the electronics. That is what they said. What the hell is a stick with electronics? And why wasn't it sent off? Okay. And then somebody said that the VR set, at first I said I'm okay with the VR set not being looked at, but someone else in here said that you can access the internet and Discord and stuff through that. Whatever an astronaut webcam is, that sounds kind of cool. Let's see. What else was there? Yeah, okay, they list targets, right? These are the targets that they're, never mind. Y'all know if you know. But they don't say how many. Like, is this a federal and state investigation? Or are y'all like purposely just being sloppy? It seems to me they're being sloppy on purpose. And look, most of the electronics that they took to be sent off were found in the dining room. There was a tablet that was in the spare bedroom. So only one piece of the electronics that they sent off came from Tyler's room, and that was the computer tower. Yeah, the personal property seized at the Robinsons. They got a laptop in a blue case with a power cord and 2 iPhones, but look, they didn't send that off, did they? And we never heard back about what they found on the car DNA. Okay, Prunella says she thinks she heard this in real time, that Discord wanted to go on the record that their app wasn't used to plan anything. Right. That makes sense. I'm sure someone said at the moment Discord came out, if I owned that company, I would absolutely come out too. So that makes sense. Yeah, he's got immunity. And his parents moved the whole family to Texas. And what it looks like is they bought a house for cash because I couldn't find a mortgage on it. I could be wrong. Yeah. Well, if this was a planned thing, it could have been, we're going to give you immunity. What did they do? Draw straws? How unfortunate. Okay. So that is it for tonight. Wow, this has been a long one. I really hope you guys learned something new, took something away from this. Good job, everybody. You charged. Good. Okay, let me take this off. Any final thoughts? You're so welcome. I mean, yeah, you got to think that maybe the photos of the phone, instead of them being stupid, were they trying to purposely cover this up? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it. I'm so glad you enjoyed it. I know it was long. It's about the yarn. It's crazy, you guys. So the next couple of days, we should be hearing about something about. I know that the hearing is on Tuesday, but I wouldn't be surprised if we get like a tentative ruling before then. So, there's not enough yarn in the world. Yeah, you're so welcome, Justin. Thank you guys for following. Thanks for being in here. This is probably the longest presentation, but as you can see, this is why it took me so long to do this. Yeah. So subscribe if you haven't. Also, let's see, anything else we need to talk about? Oh yeah, we're obviously not monetized yet. We're pretty freaking close. So if y'all do want to support, you can go to my bio on X or the main page here, and there's a link to buy me a coffee. If you feel so inclined, you may do that. But otherwise, I really appreciate everybody being here. Oh, I'm gonna go eat. Trust me. Yeah, I'm gonna dip out for a couple days for sure. Oh, no way. Nate. Ooh, right now walking? I'm glad you enjoyed it. I'm probably going to be MIA for a couple days because I got to get my life together. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Justin. Yeah, Justin dropped the link to buy me a coffee. So appreciate it. But if anything crazy comes up, definitely let me know. Email me, riogateshow@gmail.com. I will get through your emails this weekend. But if anything cool comes up, but I think I'm caught up. I think I'm finally caught up on all my thoughts. Finally. So, all right, I'm going to get out of here. I love you guys so much. Thank you for being here. That is enough. And yeah, connect with me in all the places, and I'll see y'all again soon. And have a great weekend. Seriously, have a great weekend. In fact, unplug. You don't need to be on socials. It's okay. Okay, love you guys. Bye.